All right. Hello, everyone. We are back, joined again by Bulge. Hello, Bulge.
Hello, everyone. Very
We,
pleased to be back.
yes, me and Bulge. Bulge and I have both been talking about this for a while and have in many ways been very happy to find a fellow lover of the film we are going to
Mhm.
discuss today, which is 2001's Pig, starring,
2021's,
sorry,
not
2021's.
2001's.
Thank you. Yes, good Lord. I am a millennial at heart. 2001. It feels like a 2001
Yes,
vacation.
it does.
It
It
actually does. So
feels
yeah,
it feels like it it's a very low budget movie. It
yeah.
actually feels like a very high budget, somewhat artsy to early 2000s, late 90s
Yeah,
movie.
my
Everything
Freudian
is very well done on
my
all
Freudian slip
production
was
angles.
revealed the truth. Yeah, it actually it
Mhm.
really is not yeah, it's anyhow, Pig, which everyone should see. I contend it's actually the best movie I've seen so far this decade, and I'm gonna put it up there with
I
some of
agree
the
with you.
best films so far this century.
I agree with you. On
For
all those fronts.
Yeah, for real, as you kids
It's
say.
really good. It might also be one of the best paced movies ever. I think the credits start rolling at 1 hour and 27 minutes. It is just because it doesn't add anything that's unnecessary. Everything that's there, and it's very content to leave things unsaid. We can talk about how much silence is in the movie as people just walk or their faces change, and because usually, for example, in most movies, when you have a shot reverse shot, there is when the guy is talking and when the guy is and the other guy when he's talking. In this, they're very content to just sit and look at an actor, mostly Nicolas Cage,
Yep.
while someone is talking to him. But Derek scene, but Finway
He's
scene,
Yeah,
a
you're
lot of
looking at
it is Finway talking, and there's a moment, there's like a good 20-second stretch where Nicolas Cage is saying nothing and you just see his expression changing as
a,
he's thinking of what he's going to say,
a
and it's
whole yeah.
perfect.
A whole lot of this film is Nicolas Cage bleeding and staring.
Yes. Both
So
literally and
and
figuratively, by the
figuratively,
way.
yeah. I will say we'll give a
He is
brief
a
maybe like, spoilers will abound as always, so please do
yes,
watch the
please.
film.
It's amazing. I
20
highly rec
yeah.
No, seriously, if you're gonna watch, if you want to watch a Nicolas Cage movie, you probably shouldn't watch this because that's not what you think when you think Nicolas Cage movie.
Yeah.
But it is amazing. It is probably one of his best performances.
Mhm.
It's up there with Lord of War. What
Yep.
is it? Kiss from a Vampire.
Vampire's Kiss, yeah.
Uh,
Vampire's Kiss. Oh,
Vampire's Kiss.
Vampire's Kiss.
I actually think his acting there was amazing. I won't
Yes, it was pretty
apologize to
good.
anyone.
Yeah.
Uh, Honestly, it's on par because it's on par with Raising Arizona. Literally, this is the same man acting in different roles. Watch Raising Arizona and Pig, and you will be amazed at his range.
Oh yeah.
It's incredible. Because sometimes you could think, oh, it's just, because before watching this movie, if I just described the character to you, you might think anyone of sufficient gravitas might pull up a deadpan sort of stoic character off. But there's a lot of facial expressions and
Mhm.
like just thinking and looking that is changing, that is a dynamic in very moments. He can nail wistful, and bored. It's all in the eyes because most of his face is covered up by a beard.
Yeah.
So a lot of it is just the eyes and where he's looking while someone is talking, and all of it is perfect. It's
It,
an incredible performance,
it's really well done.
and the supporting actor Alex Wolff as
Yeah,
Amir
from Hereditary.
is
Hereditary.
oh yeah,
Yeah.
that's true. It's
Hereditary.
Hereditary.
Yeah,
I forget,
Hereditary. Yeah, yeah,
dude.
yeah.
He is
A great
amazing as
actor.
Amir.
Yeah, great actor. Yeah. Um, so yeah, we were talking about right before we started recording,
Mhm.
a fun double feature would be Mandy followed by Pig. Two totally different kind of stories of loss, both starring the same man, Nicolas Cage, who can basically do whatever the hell he wants in terms of acting.
Mhm.
He self-identifies as I am the California Klaus Kinski, and I actually think that's pretty accurate. I mean, Kinski
He's
could do
probably much nicer.
He's much nicer, and he doesn't try. Unlike Kinski, he does not try to murder people in real life, which Kinski did, by the way. Was a notoriously like
Mhm.
homicidal man.
Or
Uh,
get to Werner Herzog to almost kill him like 3 different times.
yeah, well, Herzog kept holding Kinski back, according to Herzog. So, who knows? It's a one-sided story now, but yeah. We'll have to do some Aguirre Wrath of God at some point because that movie also is But
I've
we'll have
only
the South
watched, I think, the first 20 minutes. I need to watch all of it. I
well, it'd
just,
be fun to have a South American perspective on that
yes, it would be very,
film.
it's very Peruvian. It's literally the part of the South Americas I don't know much about, but it would be cool.
Yeah,
I know one or two Peruvians that I can maybe ask a few questions of.
yeah,
But that would be, should we talk about should we establish the premise and the story before we
yeah.
delve
I guess
deeper?
before we lose the point, though, you were talking about how well paced this film is.
Yes.
I think that is because the film is a meal, and like a good curated meal, there are courses, and the film
We should talk about that. The parts.
yeah, the parts one,
It's literally
two,
divided into
it's
courses.
courses of a meal. Yeah.
Yeah, it's isn't there a part 3? Am I imagining
There's a
that? No,
part three. It's a three
yeah,
course meal. It's a three
yeah, it's a
course
free
meal.
course meal.
It's
Yeah,
a
okay.
three
It's
course meal. Yeah.
before
And
we delve into the themes of that, we need to establish the plot
yeah,
of
it's
Reborn
so
Innocent.
this is a movie, I would argue, I tweeted about it a few days ago. It's a movie about life, death, memory, and food or something like that. And food, um, food is connected to your olfactory senses, so
Yes,
smelling and taste, which are related senses. And those are, I mean, this is not rocket surgery to say this, and anyone can say this because it is really true, and it's been proven time and time again that your tasting and your smelling are the closest link to memory. This
yes.
comes out of a deep evolutionary past of wanting to avoid poisons and eat good things when you're like,
Mhm.
eking out a living on the African savannah. As modern humans, we retain these senses, thankfully, because tasting things is really good. And some of us enjoy listening to there's a new episode of Taste just dropped today, I saw. So,
Ah, I
some of
need
us
to check
enjoy
the
tasting
Patreon.
things.
Okay.
Yeah. But taste is connected to memory. And I mean, this is just very true. Like for me, well, let's get touchy feely, not in that way. For 2 seconds here, let's remember our childhoods. For me, the dish that always brings back memories is shows you I have Texan. Although I am not from Texas, I've spent a fair amount of time in Texas and have deep Texan roots in my family because it's banana pudding with Nilla wafers. If anyone's from Texas, you'll know
Huh.
what I mean. That's a very popular Southern, pan Southern, but something about Texas, like they really like banana desserts.
Mhm.
Even though bananas are not grown in Texas, once you get ships coming in and the Gulf, and bananas are popular. So growing up, my Texan grandparents always made that at like every single family gathering. It was banana pudding, vanilla wafers, and deviled eggs. It was something about like these little bits of Texas they brought to the Northwest with them. And so I just thought that was normal. And then I talked to my friends who are like, "What are you eating at family gatherings?" And my dad had to explain to me, I'm like, those are Texan things. Like that's not,
Mhm.
nobody around here eats that. So whenever I have a deviled egg or I
Mhm.
have banana pudding, particularly banana pudding with no wafers, it's like I'm back. I'm like 5 years old again, and I'm like sitting talking with my mama, my grandma, and like she's just like telling me things and calling, oh, I love you, and all this stuff. Like it all just comes back to me. So when I taste that, like I'm back. Bulge, what about you? What's a dish that brings you back to a memory, a good memory, hopefully?
So there's I guess a few. When I was living in Toronto, if I ever had anything with some red meat with rice and beans, that's a pretty much a Brazilian staple of most restaurants and home cooked meals. And stroganoff. And this isn't the original Russian one. It's made of ketchup and cognac, though they might also use that in Russia. I don't know. And it's
Ketchup.
very cheap. You can mass
Yeah,
produce it. You don't usually use a good meat. In my home, we did actually use filet mignon, so it was pretty fucking good.
yeah,
But usually you do it at like parties for kids because they love it with rice and they love it with like the crispy little potatoes.
yep,
And I remember that like I know it's not the best thing I've tasted on an aesthetic level,
right.
but it's the best thing I've tasted.
Yes. No, and likewise, I'm not going to say that deviled egg. Now, my Nama's deviled eggs were the best deviled eggs on the planet, and I'll fight anybody to the death who can
Of
who
course, of
contests me
course.
on this.
Yeah,
But
same
it
with
was,
stroganoff in my household. The best
yeah,
stroganoff ever.
it was not haute cuisine as is depicted
Uh-huh.
in the film. But I think the point we're trying to make here, while being cheeky, apologies, dear listeners, is that the food that like there can be a moment or moments in your life
Hmm.
that are kind of punctuated by food, in that food you can actually recreate the past in the sense of
Oh,
recreate memory by recreating a dish.
a
Which
literary
is true.
addition to this, which I should
Yeah,
mention, is that
yeah.
possibly one of the biggest literary, I guess if you could call all the volumes one book, it'd be the biggest, maybe the biggest book ever written. It's Marcel Proust's In Search of Lost Time. It begins, if I remember correctly, is it coffee or tea? I believe it's tea. I might be wrong. It's been a while since I read the first volume, which is all I've read. It's a big fucking piece of work. I should finish it one day. But it starts with him in his old age smelling tea, which he had in his youth, and then it goes through his like thought process of remembering the memories and the associations with it, and it goes through his entire life in like 7 volumes or something. And it's this great masterpiece of French prose, and it's all started because he smelled something from his youth. And
Yeah,
that's how power it's and part of it was Marcel Proust trying to make this exact point in I
right.
believe the first decade of the 19th century, if I remember correctly.
Yeah,
Before this was like really something that was kind of just established and kind of accepted in the scientific consensus.
yeah,
He wanted to part of it was to make this point that our senses are very much linked to our idea of memory.
yeah. Our senses literally live. I mean, our memories live inside our bodies, right? The mind is not
Douglas
just some,
Adams, Hitchhiker's Guide to the
yeah,
Galaxy, actually made the same point in an essay of his. It's in the Simon of Salmon. Is that how you say it? Or is it
salmon,
Salmon? You're
salmon,
right.
salmon.
Thinking
Yeah.
of a Salmon of Doubt, which is a collection of his some of his like unfinished work and his nonfiction essays published after his death. And in one of it, he talks about how memory is holographic. It
Oh wow.
needs
Yeah.
circumstances that are not identical but similar to when
Similar.
the memory was
Yeah.
made. And
Yeah.
he started talking about holograms and their future, and then he transitioned into memory and how memory. It's a very interesting essay. I don't remember its name,
Well,
but it really
well,
this really stuck with me.
the connection, I mean, I'm talking to a friendly crowd here, so I'm going to make this point is that, the connection between taste and memory, do this in remembrance of me, involves
Yes, yes.
tasting something.
You're not talking
So
to a Baptist.
yeah, I'm not talking to a Baptist. I can make this point here. Yeah. So I guess, while there is, I think this, we'll see how you jive with this. I think all
Okay.
food, all good food, all intentionally prepared food, whether it be deviled eggs, ketchup stroganoff. I got to try that at some point. That sounds
It's
terrifying, but
real. I need to give. I'll give you my recipe
I'll
soon.
try
I
it. I'll
promise.
try anything once,
It's
but that
really
sounds,
good.
yeah, okay. I believe you. No, I believe you. I respect all cultures. Wink, wink. At least I respect the Brazilians. Yeah. Otherwise, you'll twist me up into a pretzel with your jujitsu if I'm not nice to you.
I actually
Um,
only ever practiced judo, not jujitsu, as a
oh, well,
shame
you'll throw me on the
to my
map. Yeah,
inheritance.
yeah.
Yeah.
You'll throw me down.
I'll
You'll
throw
throw
you.
me.
I'll just literally never choke you out.
just
I have
just
no
throw
ground
me.
game at this point.
Yeah. No, but like any food that's intentionally made, whether it be complex,
Mhm,
simple, foreign or domestic, all of these things, all food I think is sacramental. It
mhm,
it reminds you, it brings you back to something. Now it could be bad, right? It could be like I'm eating a McDonald's burger. What decisions have I made in my life today that brought me to this point where I'm eating
uh-huh.
McDonald's burger? Or it could be I'm, 5 years old sitting on my nama's lap again, right? Like in my case,
Mhm.
right? Like so food is connected to our bodies. Our bodies, we live our lives in our bodies. Memories live in our bodies. And I do think that if you'll thank you for bearing with us, dear listeners, because all of these themes are
Oh yeah.
quite strong in this movie.
Yes.
And so now I think we probably set it up well enough, unless there's a few more things you want to add. Like that's kind of the main thematic drive of this film is remembering and using food to remember, I think.
Yeah, I will. I guess
Yeah.
I can add 2 things. One is kind of uh just a shit. I don't know if it's a
Go
shit
ahead.
post or if it's I'm being sort of slightly insulting to some Protestant American prots
It,
specifically,
we
and
you
some
we
Brazilian evangelicals, which
yeah.
is but our Lord didn't choose his words. Do this in remembrance of me randomly.
Yes.
That's one of my comments to what
Yes.
you were saying.
I would
It
agree.
isn't. It isn't. As if modern science has invalidated those words now. They mean more in light of what we've learned and probably remembered from a forgotten time.
Yep.
Um, and the other is I had a second thing, but I've forgot, unfortunately. So we'll move on
It's
one day.
okay. I mean, the
I
the
will comment
Sacramento
this again.
connection was the yeah, is I think is an important thing. So I would argue that while this film is
Oh yes, the Sacramento connection is. I
yeah,
would say even maybe this. I will just. This is just an anecdote, but I've
yeah.
heard of other people experiencing the same thing. Where if you've ever been to a mass really late at night and you haven't had food yet, and then you go eat at like a Wendy's or McDonald's, to use your
Yeah.
example,
Yeah.
it tastes better.
Yeah.
You kind of appreciate it more. You there's not only the intentionality of the food made. She's probably just a low wage worker, kind of
Right.
really tired. But that's also kind of good. He's still doing something for
Yeah.
you, but it's also the intentionality of you eating,
Well,
which
if
this
I
movie
could
doesn't do that much of. There is some of it.
there's some of it.
It's more about cooking because that's the main guy's profession.
Yeah.
But there is an intentionality to eating as well. Are you present at the meal?
Yes.
Which is implicitly there, but it's not visually and narratively explicit at least.
Yes. And so I would, yeah, I would argue that while this movie isn't explicitly either Christian or religious, I think it definitely dovetails. If those things are
Oh yes.
universal capital U or not capital U, lowercase u rather, lowercase u universal, which they are, then this it's present here, right? This movie really gets the importance of like intentional eating.
Not
In
only that, it kind
yeah,
of really takes live not by lies and
yeah,
runs with it
oh
by
yeah, it's
for the entirety of it.
yeah, yeah, it's about it's sort of it's interesting that the film is set in Portland, a place known for hipsters, and a place known for quote unquote intentionality, whatever that really means. But it then actually portrays, I would argue, something more like genuine intentionality in the film. So anyhow, the film takes place in Portland. We can just do a brief summary here. There is a man played by Nicolas Cage, the incomparable Nicolas Cage, greatest living actor in English in the English language. I contend. Really, truly, anyone can fight me on that.
He's really
Uh,
good.
he's
I love
very
him.
good. I don't. Normal people can't do what he can do.
Hmm.
Uh, he plays retired is maybe a soft term.
Hmm.
Robin Feld, who
A
was
recluse,
a
a hermit
recluse,
now.
a hermit. Yeah, he makes his living, which is a meager living. Although, well, I don't know how much he's actually pulling in, because truffles are quite big. You can make a
It's
lot of money.
probably what he's not buying,
It's
to
what
be
he's not.
fair.
Yeah, it's what he's not
It's what
buying.
he's not going to town to buy.
Yeah, he's a truffle hunter out in the the woods. I'm going to guess. I'm not. As a Pacific Northwesterner, I'm trying to think about where like I'm guessing to the east. I'm guessing it's probably closer to Mount Hood. I'm gonna guess. They don't really explicitly say that. I have actually have family on Mount Hood, so I was like trying to figure that out this
They
time watching. I'm like,
mentioned
where
Mount Hood is an
they
active
mentioned Hood.
volcano at
Yeah, I'm
some
like,
point.
this probably is somewhere in the Hood foothills area. Maybe near Boring, Oregon, I would guess. Maybe
I
I'll
would know
yeah, you
nothing
wouldn't know.
of
Yeah, I'm
that.
as a Northwestern. I'm like, this feels like maybe Boring. In any case, he lives outside of Portland, Oregon, which despite its dark turn, Portland is actually still a great place. I still like Portland, even though there's a lot of crime and degeneracy and problems as we've all been experiencing over the past several years. For those of us living up here in the Pacific Northwest, it still is a great place. I have great love for Oregon. I have family in Oregon. I also live in Washington, and so yeah, it's a fellow Northwesterner state. I have to stand by them. He is a truffle hunter. He has a pig, and that's obviously the name of of the film. And his pig is a beloved pig, and his pig
Very
helps
cute pig.
helps him maybe helps him find truffles, although that's sort of up in the air whether how much the pig was actually doing all along.
Mhm.
Uh, he's a truffle hunter, which is a very tricky and hard business. Um, in the between the first time I watched this film and then this time, I actually read a whole book about truffle hunting, which I'm going to link in the description because it was so good. My wife bought it, and I was like, "Oh, I'll read that." And I was like, this book is one of the best books I've read all year. It's called The Truffle Underground by Ryan Jacobs. Um, it's very good. It's very not super long. It's very digestible, pun intended,
Mhm.
maybe. And it's very dark. And it's all about the just as we were talking about before we were recording, that basically there's no such thing as legitimate and illegitimate truffles. there are just truffles. There's black truffles, there's white truffles, there's different varieties of truffles. This takes place in this film takes place and is shot in and around Portland, so I'm gonna assume it's black truffles because those are the kinds that are most prized by American chefs, and those are the kinds that were brought over. And propagation of truffles is a very difficult thing. It costs a lot of money to do, but growing truffles, it's usually going to be black truffles in America because that's what the market wants. And so domestic truffles in the U.S. is a whole tricky thing. That's not what this episode's about. But read the book; it's quite interesting. At least in Europe, in France, and in Italy, the truffle business, we'll put business in scare quotes, um, involves a lot of theft, a lot of and even murder. Like maybe not a lot of murder, but some murder, a lot of theft.
A lot of skullduggery.
Skullduggery,
Skullduggery abounds.
it abounds.
Which, if you do not know this, the
Right,
frame narrative of the movie will be really funny, possibly intentionally.
right.
There is a because once you've told me this, I had no idea before we were start talking that this was real, but because there are several scenes where one of the characters, Amir, who is the seller of the truffles that
The
Robin
middleman.
Feld,
Yeah.
Nicolas Cage's character finds, um, where he's talking about truffles like they're different strains of weed. Specifically, there's a scene where he's talking in the mirror, kind of talking himself up, ready to kind of make a sale. He's like, "You want that indicum? You don't go to Kate, you go to me. If you want," like he names a different strain, and it
Yeah.
really sounds like he's talking about weed. It's just impossible not to make the connection.
You
It's
got
really funny.
Bulge and everyone, you got to read this book because
I
honestly,
do.
that's
I
not
do.
even. I mean, the film obviously plays
That's
with
not
this,
exaggeration.
but it's not an exaggeration. Actually, the film under exaggerates.
Undersells.
It undersells actually how much this is kind of basically just an accepted criminal enterprise. So part of this is because truffles kind of happen, quote unquote. They're that you can't grow them like a crop. There's an environment, usually it's a foresty environment that allows for truffles to grow. But like so many different biological factors need to be in synchronized in order for a truffle to happen. And it's this entire kind of like sub ecosystem that allows truffles to grow. It has to do with like fungal networks and crazy stuff. It's actually fascinating. Because of this, truffles are hard to come by, and they're highly prized. So high demand, low supply, and
Mhm.
all the things that come along with that. It is not like up until recently, at least, it's not like marijuana in the U.S., at least Pacific Northwest. It's legal recreationally in both Washington and Oregon, has been for a bit, but it's not like pre-legalization where it was like, oh, we can't get it because it's illegal. It's like you literally just can't get a lot of truffles. They are
Mhm.
just very difficult to come by, and a good truffle is very hard to come by. And the thing is that truffles need to be moved on the market very quickly. They are very hard to preserve. Once you can preserve truffles, but you ruin a lot of their quality by preserving them. So truffles that get preserved tend to be the lowest quality truffles. So the high class shit that they are selling to the fancy Portland restaurants in that the Amir character is selling, that Nicolas Cage's Robin character is finding, those need to be moved like within the day. You have to get them from to have a really good truffle. You have to get it from hunter to plate like within 48 hours is my recollection from the book. That's a quick turnaround.
Yep.
And you can keep them cool, you can refrigerate them, but they will degrade. Like the longer they're outside of their natural little their own little ecosystem, they start to degrade. They will rot, they will ruin, and you're losing thousands of dollars. I mean, these are like you can buy like nice truffles. It's multiple thousands of US dollars for like I mean per kilo per pound at least. Like even per like a
Mhm.
good truffle, you can flip it for a lot if you know what you're doing. So lots of crime is wrapped up inside the truffle business. And so people tend to use animals to help them to find truffles. In Europe, it tends to be dogs. Although you can also use pigs. Pigs are actually very similar to dogs. They're very intelligent. And yes, I eat one and not the other, and would never eat the other. And I do feel a little bad about eating pigs because they are quite smart, but they're just so damn tasty. But pigs, you
I
can
don't. They're vicious animals, man. They're cute, but man, like Amir, like you kind of
Yeah.
like the reason I could tell on a rewatch, I guess the first time I watched it too, that Amir had been there before is his immediate reaction upon seeing a pig was like, "Ooh, get away from my car," which told us a lot about his character and stuff like that.
Right.
But my immediate reaction upon seeing a pig of that size is, I am fucking scared. I am legitimately, this thing could start mauling me if it's hungry.
Well, as we know, if anyone who's watched the movie Snatch, you know that pigs, they will go through bone like butter, right? They can basically eat kind of anything.
Like I
Um,
did meet a farmer out in Brazil actually who said like the like he ran a hostel, or I guess it was a hostel, or was it a hotel? I guess it was a hostel or a mini hotel. Where basically all the food was grown on his farm,
yeah.
including the meat. And he said the only animal he doesn't turn his back to are the pigs.
Oh,
And
interesting.
that's the really the only animal he really goes out of his way to slaughter out of the eyesight and earshot of the others.
Yeah.
That is the one animal he will, because his pigs are big. Like this was the small pig.
Yeah,
Like
yeah.
his
Truffle
pigs are like
pigs,
400 pounds, 300
truffle
pounds.
pigs,
We're like
yeah.
crazy big.
Yeah, truffle pigs are not bred to be eaten. They're right. They're bred.
Yeah, yeah.
I mean, they're
This was a small, very cute,
yeah,
very hairy, very friendly pig. The
yeah,
pigs I've seen are like, oh, well, I was like 14 when I saw it. Oh, this thing is bigger and weighs way more than me. I'm dead if this thing wants me
yeah.
to
They
be
get
dead.
angry.
I am thankful it is friendly at the moment.
Yeah. Well, and then you can go into wild varieties of pigs like wild boar. Wild boar are not to be messed with. They will literally kill you. Yeah, wild boar. I don't know if you guys have wild boar problem down in Brazil, but like
We
anywhere
don't have a problem, but we do have a. It's not the same type. They're usually way smaller, and there
in
aren't
Texas,
that many.
Texas has a gigantic wild boar problem. Anyhow,
Yeah,
yeah,
they're
they're
a
like a
pest.
totally invasive problem, and it's a big issue. Yeah,
All
and they're
right, back to the
terrifying.
movie.
Back to the movie.
To
Well,
the
but we're
plot.
talking
We need
about
to
pigs.
summarize the plot.
Yeah, so there's a pig involved. His pig is stolen. His pig is stolen, and why would you steal a pig? Because the pig helps you find the magical little forest gems called truffles. So you steal the pig, and so it's about this man's quest sort of back into the world that he kind of helped create, because he helped create this like haute cuisine, high level Portland area restaurant market. He retreats because it's sort of alluded to various factors, but mostly the death of his wife. He retreats, just does travel hunting. He's forced back into Portland, the culinary underbelly of Portland, to retrieve his pig. And there are all sorts of shenanigans that he gets up to. He and his middleman character Amir, who he basically forces to drive him around Portland, trying to find out who has the pig.
I really love. All right, we can take this however you want. I think we
Yeah,
maybe we should go be scene by scene, or maybe
let's
go
follow. The
chronologically.
spirit will lead us
But
where we
we
need
can
to
talk
go.
about
Yeah,
Amir. Should we talk
yeah,
about Amir? Because
yeah, yeah,
that's
yeah.
easily the strongest relationship of the movie. Um, in my mind, the strongest visual one at least. It's Amir and Robin.
Yeah.
Um, and Robin is initially very close off to Amir. I think literally the scene Amir is introduced, he's going to buy Robin's truffles, or they have the scheme. It's every Thursday. Um, and every Thursday Amir drops by on his yellow Camaro, and I'll talk about his character later, about his personality. There's a lot done visually. It's incredible. They never need to spell it out. You just get it. He goes by in his yellow Camaro, in his nice shirt, in his blazer, and his very nice pants. Um, and he kind of he's trying to make conversation with Nick Cage, with Robin, while he gets the stuff. And Robin literally says no words. Nicolas Cage in that scene, he's the focus point of the camera, by the way. The camera's off in the little corner of the cottage. You can kind of see them through a doorway. And Nicolas Cage is like dead center of the scene. And you see him sewing something. And then while he's talking, literally get up and just go inside and close the door on his face.
Yeah.
And then he just fuck you too, asshole. And then
Yeah.
he gets it and drives off. But
Yeah.
this is how Robin is in the beginning of the movie. He doesn't want to talk to anyone. The only person you've heard him talk to, is the pig. That's the only person he's ever said anything to. He's been
Yep.
very kind and gentle with the pig, so you get that from his personality. And then throughout the movie, he's very cold to Amir until a
Mhm.
certain point. He just sees Amir as a ride to get him around to different people that he used to know
Right.
to find where the pig is. And in this point, after he goes to sleep, after getting beat up in the underground culinary fight club of Portland,
Which is great.
which we could talk about
We could
later.
talk about. I have a theory
Yeah, we
about
could talk
this.
about
Yeah.
Portland and underground fight clubs and crazy shit there.
Yes,
But
Portland is a place of crazy shit. Yes,
yeah,
Portland
and
is a weird
after
place.
that,
Yeah. Keep
he
Portland
goes to
weird.
sleep. Yeah, he goes to
Keep
sleep
Portland
in
weird.
Amir's couch, which is actually a very good character development scene for Amir because he doesn't say anything after that. Like after he gets beat up, he just
Yeah.
carries him very
Yeah.
silently. He's there for him, helps him, even cooks for him without having to say anything.
Yep.
And the moment Amir says, kind of sheepishly, that his mother killed herself. This is interesting. He says his mother killed herself. She's not dead. This is maybe important for his character in the plot. She's in a hospital
Yeah.
in a coma,
Basically brain dead. Yeah.
basically brain dead, but she is technically alive.
Right.
And there's a lot you can infer from Amir and his father's character, which we could talk about
Yeah.
as
Well, there's
well
that whole
for
scene
the
where
final
he says,
reveal.
I wish dad would just let you die.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Again,
Which
that's we could
that
talk
scene
about
is
that scene too because it's so
that
specific.
scene too.
You
Yeah.
need to
Yeah.
establish how he said it, that he didn't just go to her coma
Yeah.
body and say it to her. He didn't even want to look at her. He just said it to the door in a
Yeah.
whisper. It's
Yeah.
great. And you don't know where he's going when this happens. It's
Yeah.
completely silent up
Yeah.
until that point. But until he does this and he cooks for Robin,
Yeah.
and then, he talks about his family life with his dad, and Robin asks, "Where did your mom go to?" And then he kind of sheepishly said, "She killed herself." And he also says, very interestingly, when people are like that, it's going to happen. It's not a question of if, it's a question of sooner or later.
Yeah.
Basic, something to that effect. And again, he's very sheepish. He doesn't want to look at Robin during this. He's just trying to focus on the French toast and something
French
else. He's
toast,
trying.
which he didn't use stale bread. You always should use stale bread.
Yes.
Yeah. Always use
I
stale bread.
never use
Yeah.
stale bread when I cook it, but whatever. Because I
Yeah,
just
you
buy
technically
bread. I have
should. You
bread
technically
around.
it's more spongy. It actually soaks up more of the egg.
Yeah, of course,
Yeah.
which
Yeah.
makes sense.
Yeah.
But also, that's a cute detail because Robin, he's never talked to Amir of his own initiative before. It's
Yeah.
only when Amir has kind of basically threatened to leave
Yeah.
that Robin is like, "Okay, I'll tell you what I'm doing and why I'm doing it and where we're going." Because they're going to weird fucking places. They're breaking into a restaurant and like moving shelves to access an underground.
Yes.
It's crazy, man. It's surprisingly crazy, but it feels very real.
It's actually not
Mostly
as
because of the
crazy.
camera work.
I'll
The
share some stories.
cinematography and camera work are great.
I'll share some stories. So quick question. Have you ever worked in a kitchen before?
I have not.
Okay, so I have. So I have stories about working in a kitchen that are not quite underground Portland fight zone area, but you'd be surprised how
It's in
similar.
the ballpark. It's in the neighborhood.
Now, I don't know how kitchens in Brazil are, but if a kitchen's in the Pacific Northwest, so I'm in Seattle. It's not Portland, but I mean, I've worked in some kitchens. Yeah, there's weird shit does happen in the back of restaurants. I mean, there is just weird shit that happens back there. There's sometimes where you walk back there and you're like, yeah, I'm not gonna pretend that I didn't see that happen because I just got to get through the night. That happens.
Yeah,
pretty
I heard of that. I
frequently.
have two
Yeah,
friends who work in restaurants and want to be chefs. So
yeah, there's some
get
weirdness that happens in kitchens for sure. Yeah, yeah. That's actually
Uh,
upon rewatching, that was one of my favorite bits. I'm like, this is totally accurate. I was like, this is exactly
so
how
funny.
it is. Where you're like,
dude, yeah,
whatever.
the guys.
His friend
I
just
will
trying to
go
smoke
back
a
to
cigarette.
Amir.
He's
Yeah,
just trying
the
to
guy's
smoke a
smoking a
cigarette, and he's like,
cigarette.
this guy's coming up to him talking to him. He's like, man, I'm just trying to get through my shift. Like, I
It's like,
felt that.
fuck
Yeah.
it, I don't care. Just go the fuck in.
Yeah,
Like,
just go in.
dude, I don't give a shit. Why are
I
you
don't
even
give a
talking
shit.
to me?
Yeah.
Go in.
When you're living mostly on tips, you're like, I don't give a shit, man. Just like, I don't know. Like, I got to get through the
Dude,
night.
I'm
Right?
on my fucking cigarette break. The moment I finish this, I need to get back to work.
Yeah.
I don't want to fucking talk to you. Just go in. You're not my responsibility.
I mean, I will say, I haven't worked at high level kitchens like are depicted in the film. Nothing like that. But I have worked in like kitchen in restaurant situations in Seattle that have pretty high turnover, like where like there's a lot of business happening. And it is like just the idea of talking to one more person makes you feel like you're going to lose your mind. So on your break, you don't talk to anybody. That is
And
pretty
that
like you do
I
not
will
want to
say
talk to
that
anybody.
it's not an extra. It's I don't know what the word would be, but that guy pulled the I don't for the love of God, don't fucking talk to me. Please don't talk to me.
Yeah,
Like action while he's smoking so well,
very well
where
done.
he's just like very done with it. He's
Yes.
like, dude, please just go. Like, just break in. I don't,
Yeah, I
please
don't
don't
care.
talk to me.
Yes. It's very accurate. Yes. Don't talk to me. Just let me get on with my
And
shit.
all
I'm
right,
off
but
at whatever. I'm off at midnight. Please let me finish. Yeah.
all right, but
Yeah.
Amir cooks the French toast after this whole Portland underground fight ring scene and break into a restaurant. Amir cooks French toast, and this is the first time Robin has given him something unsolicited, where it's not. When you're first watching, you might think it's like a criticism, and it
Yeah.
is kind of meant to be funny. That like that's because he has a whole rant before this about we don't need to care about what people think.
Right.
There's going to be a fucking tsunami here
Yeah.
sometime in the next 50 years,
Yeah.
and most things are going to die.
Yeah.
We don't need to care. This comes back later to the fuck Seattle line, but please don't
Yeah. Which
interrupt.
was
We'll get to
great.
that later,
Which was
which
very
is
great. Yeah.
awesome. I
Fuck
caught it this
Seattle.
time. I didn't understand why. I was like,
Yeah.
what's the deal with
I can
fuck
give some
Seattle?
context to that too.
Yeah, yeah.
That is
Please
very
later.
well written because that's a very Portland thing to say. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
And and like he gives this piece of advice, which maybe on your first watch feels like kind of unwarranted criticism. Kind of should be thankful for getting a meal, but he is thankful.
Yeah, he is.
That's
He's
him
trying to help him.
giving
He's trying to help him.
legitimate advice
Yeah.
of
Use
like
use stale
how
bread.
to. And
Yeah.
this comes back later. There's a scene where they cook together, and visually, no words. There's
Yep.
literally no sound except the soundtrack.
Yep.
Where they're cooking together way later, for probably the biggest emotional payoff of the movie.
Oh
It's really
yeah,
the
man.
climax of the movie,
That
that cooking
scene.
scene.
Yeah.
Um, and and he's very helpfully teaching him how to cook roast some kind of bird. I don't know
Yeah, I
which
forget
bird.
what kind of bird it is. Yeah.
I don't even
It's
know if they mention it
they
exactly.
just they it's like a bird, a bottle, and a baguette or whatever it is. Yeah, a
yeah.
bird,
They
a
don't
bottle,
say
and a
what
baguette.
kind of.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's the
And
part three, by the way.
a salted baguette, I think it is.
It's
Something
a
like that.
salted baguette, yes.
Yeah, a salted baguette. Yeah.
Um, and it's just visually really good. You see Amir's character mature from him trying to get into Finway's without talking to his dad, which is a
Yeah.
restaurant his dad basically is a supplier to, and
Supplier.
maybe is
Yeah.
a partial owner of. It's
Well, so
implied
the thing
he
is,
owns
it's
some restaurants.
unspecified, but the thing is, having now, I mean, it doesn't make me an expert on truffles, but having read this really good book, again, Truffle Underground, people are there's turf like you would get in a drug situation. You don't come on my turf. It's like The Wire, where you're like, you don't
Yeah,
come into my area and sell in my area. There's going to be problems. That is actually 100% real in the truffle business. You do not step on other people's turf. That is just true. That is how it is. It's that like cutthroat. So yeah,
territorial. Yeah.
it's that territorial. Yeah.
And he doesn't want to speak, but at the same moment, at the same time, you're like, dude, he's your dad. You know, you haven't seen his dad yet. I should
Yeah.
mention that at that point in the
Yeah.
movie. You're like, but of course, this also builds up on the character that you've been seeing, where it's like he obviously doesn't want to talk to his dad. He's completely concerned with his self-image.
Yeah.
He literally everything about him is designed as a self-image, and there's great little dialogues between him and Robin about that.
Yeah.
And whereas Robin is a very much an authentic character, maybe he's authentically himself, maybe to the point where he needs to think about what he's doing instead of doing it sometimes.
Yeah.
And Amir's character is the exact opposite. And when he's trying to get to Finway's, he basically refuses to use his dad's name, which is
Yeah.
great later on,
Yeah.
as you'll see. It's all the scenes of Amir and Robin are really great. Even the scenes where Amir is in the background. For example,
Yeah.
Finway's. Amir is in the background in Finway's,
Have Fenway
but it's
scene, man.
really good where
Do we
he's
want to talk
trying to
about the
keep it
Fenway
down.
scene?
All right, should we get to the most
Yeah, because the Fenway scene
undoubtedly the most famous scene of the
is the
movie?
best scene in the
There's
movie.
probably been as many more people who watch that scene on YouTube than people who watch the movie, maybe.
Yeah, you should. Yeah.
That might be true because the video actually has a pretty impressive view count, if I remember correctly.
Yeah. So they're waiting. They're there. So basically, they're trying to track down who has the pig, and so they're going to different truffle based or restaurants that are going to have truffle based menus in the upcoming fall season. By the way, a perfect time of year to watch this film, fall. It's a very fall film.
It is
It is a very, at
visually,
least in Northern
it's
Hemisphere, for Northern Hemisphere folks, it's a very fall film. Um, so Nicolas Cage's character Robin is talking to Derek, who is like the head chef now of Fenway's. But he knows Derek Fenway from when he was a sous chef, I believe, a sous chef,
prep cook, a
prep
prep
cook.
cook
Sorry, not
for
even a
two
sous chef.
months.
2 months, prep cook for 2 months. Yeah, yeah,
I watched it this afternoon.
yeah.
I
You
got
know
it
it, but
in
yeah,
my
yeah, yeah.
mind.
Prep cook for 2 months, and he fired him because he always overcooked the
Pasta.
pasta. Yeah, he always overcooked the pasta. Um, and so it takes a few or a few like maybe 30 seconds for the Derek character to recognize who this person is, and they bring out a fancy bottle of Pinot Noir, which, if you know anything about Oregon wines, is a very popular Oregon varietal. Pinot, some of the Erath, for
He
example. I recommend
mentioned it's from a 20-mile radius
20
of
mile
Portland.
radius. Yeah, if people are looking for good Oregon, if you're in America, Erath Vineyards does a Pinot that's pretty good, and that's from Portland area. So there's lots of good Portland area Pinots. Anyhow, so they clearly did some research on this film. I'm like, yeah, Pinot that tracks Portland. Um, so and it's this wonderful exchange where basically you have a man in the character of Derek who's so fake. He's lost himself in the
Yeah, we
bullshit.
can talk
He's
about that.
lost
Yeah.
himself completely in the seasonal menu and in what people are saying about the seasonal menu and all this stuff. And then you have a man, as you've said, in the character of Robin, who's maybe a little too authentic, but hey, like at least he's not lying, who's just like, it's all
He
bullshit.
never lies. Yeah, he
All
never
of it
lies
is
during the entire
bullshit. And he's
movie.
like, what did you want to do? He's like, you told me you wanted to do a real English pub.
English pub.
You
Yeah.
wanted to do a real English pub. It's like, yeah, but it's not financially feasible in this market, and like all these excuses and these sort of like weak defensive walls he's throwing up. And then he's like, I forget exactly what the name
No,
of the
I can tell you exactly.
yeah,
I'll
it's
do
it's
you
like a
because he
curry based
mentions critics,
yeah,
investors, and customers. And
yeah,
then Robin retorts very quietly because
yeah,
Nicolas Cage is a surprisingly understated performance, which makes the climax all the better. Um, and he just says, they're not real, you know. The critics aren't, the investors aren't real, the customers aren't real because you aren't real.
yeah,
They don't know who you are because you haven't shown them.
yeah,
That's probably the most famous line of the movie. That's the climax of that conversation where he kind of he breaks his walls down because before that there's the moment where he says, I asked you what you wanted to do. You wanted to do an English real pub, and he's like, "Oh, that's not feasible." It's like, "What was your fate? What was the signature dish you wanted to do?" And he says, egg something.
so
I
it's a
forget what
Scotch egg. It's like a curry Scotch egg
Scotch egg.
kind of, yeah,
Yeah,
Scotch, which it sounds, by the
Scotch
way,
eggs with XXX
that
with
sounds
XYZ.
tasty as fuck.
It
Scotch eggs are
sounds really good.
really good. I love Scotch
Yeah,
eggs. Yeah,
it's
they're real.
yeah.
Yeah, that
He
sounds
wanted to
really
do
good.
XYZ,
Yeah.
and you get and this also builds
But
character
here's
for
the thing. But
Robin
wait,
because
hold
you
on,
get the idea he was a good
Bulge,
boss.
Bulge. But hold
Yes.
on. He doesn't just say Derek doesn't just say that calmly. He blurts it out like he
Yeah,
just
like he can't
instantly
control it.
he
It's
can't
instant.
control it.
Yeah, this is
Yeah,
important.
instant.
It's
Yeah.
there's like a literally like a 0.25-second delay between Robin asking that question.
Yeah.
It's literally like milliseconds above the max human reaction, the minimum human reaction
Yeah.
time.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
just instant.
Yeah.
And it's very real. That
Yeah.
actor as well. All the actors do a fantastic job, but all these one scene actors, the guy we've mentioned who's just smoking a cigarette, Derek, who's
Yeah.
only in it for one scene, also amazing.
Derek, played by David Knell from Total Recall, everyone.
Oh, really?
Yes.
I haven't watched Total Recall in like 6 years, maybe more.
Total Recall.
Holy shit. Okay. Dude, he's a good actor.
He's
He
a good
did that
actor. Yeah.
fantastically. And it's
And
this
then he just
idea where
starts chugging the Pinot because it's like he's like
yeah,
his
no,
wife
he
is
chugs
laid before him as false, and he's like,
yeah,
well, I
before
might as well
that, he
drink.
served the Pinot.
Yeah.
That was actually part of the falseness where he's like, after literally a starter, just like a token starter.
Yeah.
Robin, Amir is trying to lay low. He's going to eventually call the chef. Immediately out the starters, which is this very fancy bullshit. I don't even
It's
need to
like
say
a, it's like
it's like a
elder
parody.
infused scallop or something with
It's
a blackberry
infused with
or
like the
something.
smoke
Yes,
of pine
blackberry
from,
smoke or whatever it
and
is.
it's from
Yeah.
there's like stuff from the sea as well. It's like
Yes,
crazy shit. And like
yes,
Robin, he just grabs off his hand to taste it, and
yeah,
then tests the texture of
yeah,
the other one, like very scientifically,
yeah,
because you can tell, like, again, no word spoken about it. It's not
yeah,
mentioned like what he's doing, but
yeah,
it's like kind of feeling it around, not trying to eat it.
yeah,
Lemir's trying to lay a low profile, and Robin, like the moment he can, calls the waitress and says, "I want to speak to the chef."
yeah,
Uh, and like the chef himself serves him the Pinot, and very like he's sputtering throughout all of it because he
yeah,
recognizes Robin, who looks very different because he looks like a fucking hobo.
yeah.
Which we should mention throughout this entire movie, he smells and looks horrific.
Yes.
Uh, Bloody. All the He even asks him, "Do you need some medical
Do you
attention?"
need medical attention? Yeah. No,
Because
I'm
he
fine.
looks like shit.
Yeah.
Uh, it looks like he looks like someone who was just hit with a shovel and then beaten up less than 24 hours later,
Yeah,
which is
yeah,
what happened to his character.
yeah,
Uh, so it's very realistic, and he just says no, thank you. When
yeah,
he says the thank you, though, he's opening. I actually took that as a sign of him opening up because I don't
yeah,
think he would have said that before the conversation of Amir. He
yeah,
wouldn't have said the thank you.
yeah.
Um, and it's so, and you get the idea that one, Robin was not a bad boss. He
No,
cared about his employees, where he's
yeah,
like, what do you plan to do from now on? And he kind of holds them to that standard.
yeah,
And you get this, I mentioned this before, you get this sort of Emersonian, Ralph Waldo Emerson self-sufficiency quality in the movie, that the movie in a way advocates for without going to extremes. You'll get the in extremes in like Ayn Rand or other. Ayn Rand might be the most American author of all time, by the way, despite not being born there. I would actually, she certainly is kind of the epitome of the American to the foreigners. There's no one who really captures the American Ubermensch quite like Ayn Rand.
yeah, probably.
Uh, and
Sadly.
Ralph Waldo
Yeah,
Emerson has that quality as well. I think it's self-reliancy, the essay. If you want to get that sort of feeling, read Self-Reliant. I think it's Self-Reliance, if I remember correctly. Which I believe was a speech at a university, possibly Harvard. But it's this thing where you have to be authentic to yourself. And this is kind of the focal scene of this theme in the movie, where you can't lie to yourself. Because if he was honest, if it was like, no, I don't really like cooking this, but it's financially viable, and then I'll get some capital and I'll open up the pub and I'll do what I want later.
right.
Then he would, because the moment Robin mentions, you, because Derek says to him, "Oh, you might not remember me, but I worked under you." And Robin says, "Yes, you were a prep cook for 2 months under a so and so restaurant."
Yeah,
He remembers him exactly, and he sort of splutters and doesn't know what to say. Whereas, because he feels, in Portuguese we'd say "sem graça." It feels like when you're awkward and embarrassed by something that was revealed.
yeah,
Whereas if you were a legitimately self-confident man who had esteem in your own eyes, you you would laugh at that. Say, "Yeah,
yeah,
man, I was such a fuck up at that time.
yeah,
Yeah, thanks for bearing with me for 2 months. It was more than I deserve. But, I'm fine now." You'd
yeah,
say something like that. You wouldn't splutter about it because you can
yeah,
absolutely do something that's financially viable, but isn't like your dude. You can clean toilets. Like, I know people who don't do that now, but who've cleaned toilets, like,
yeah,
and just work menial shit jobs. Like, no, this is like what I have to fucking do. I'm not gonna lie
yeah,
to myself like, oh, this is my dream. I'm whatever. Like, no,
yeah,
no, this is a shit job. I'm just doing a shit job, and I'm trying to make money to go
yeah,
on something better.
yeah.
It's like that's perfectly fine, and you can laugh at that later with
Well,
someone
and
who
I would say too that there's
but he could.
actually, I mean, I'm talking to a friendly audience, so because you're
Yes.
Catholic, I think I think and I think there's even sometimes you're stuck in a shit job and you never move past the shit job. Does that mean your job doesn't have meaning? It's still a shit job, but are you supporting your family with it?
Yeah,
You're
that
doing
was
something
maybe the
valid. That's
it's like
that's
don't
that's
overstate it
that's
where it goes
virtuous.
into that
That's
of
virtuous. So you
yeah,
can
no,
there's a
that's
virtue to doing the shit
virtuous.
jobs because they do need
Yes.
to be done. And I do think that there's something to that again, the movie is not explicitly
Because
saying
your job
it's
is
implied.
mostly, this is maybe a very Catholic, Anglo-Catholic, I should say Anglican. I
Yeah.
don't want to exclude my maybe Protestant, maybe technically not Protestant. It really depends on your historiography.
Yeah,
Reverend.
yeah.
And I don't want to exclude even the High Church Lutherans and the High Church Calvinists because I do like
Well,
planting.
I come out of I come out of a Lutheran background, so
Yeah,
I've become more high church as I go. But so I mean, I have like I think in
yeah.
some ways my intuitions. I'm doing the whole Anglican thing, very happy with it. But in some ways, I'm still am Lutheran. My intuitions are still Lutheran. But
Mhm.
Luther wrote a lot about this, right? Like Luther was all
There
about.
is a lot of good stuff in Luther. We don't like to admit that because we don't like the stuff he said against us, which I think is
Yeah,
fair.
yeah,
But
but I
like
mean, he's
I
talking about
know like
sweeping the
Luther
streets.
temp
He's talking about
like
Luther's talking about cleaning streets, right? Like in cleaning the street.
mhm.
But if you're cleaning the street with the love of God in your heart and you're doing it to help your fellow man, and particularly in his time and era, to prevent communicable disease and the plague, cleaning out the street, well, hey, then you're like probably saving people's lives in a way. And that is
Mhm.
actually a virtuous act. Like, and maybe we need that's like a good thing, right? Like that you
And we
can,
also you don't
yeah,
even need to think about it in a social sense. It's more like you need to realize one, your life is not for you. Your
right.
life is to be given for others.
Yeah,
And two, your job is not for your fulfillment because your job can't fulfill you.
right.
It's to be a vehicle for something else. And if it can be directly a vehicle for something else, as in it, with making something beautiful, like a beautiful meal, you
Yeah.
get you're in direct touch with some part of the divine, that's good. But if it's only indirectly in that you buy your shit job, you can support your wife and kids,
Yeah.
well, then let it be indirectly. It's not for you.
Right.
Let it be for that. Let
This
it be for
this
the
is
greater
a
glory of
yeah, this
God.
is that I mean this is the whole Luther's thing about I never can do the direct quotes, so don't at me people, but you know what I'm talking about. It's the whole thing where he's like a Christian is totally free, totally unattached to any of the world's constraints, totally only connected to God, and at the same time is completely subservient to his fellow man and is loving and forgiving of his fellow man. And this is the paradox of like Luther's big on paradox in his theology. This is
Yeah.
that paradox of vocation that you are.
I noticed that when I read Kierkegaard for literally 2 pages. I noticed that.
That's
Thank
my
you.
boy Kierkegaard that you're
I
talking about.
love
That's
him,
my
but
guy.
man, if dude, the first like 5 pages of the sickness unto death are the most like I am gonna fucking kill this man.
That's
I
not
can't.
his best
If
work.
he
His
says
best.
the
That's not his
self is
best
the
work.
relation to the self between the self and the self, dude, I'm gonna fucking kill this dude. It gets really good, but like I'm like, oh, like most 5 pages stop. Like I tried to read this book like 5 times in a fucking year, and I couldn't do it. I couldn't do it. I was like, I read the introduction like 5 times, and was like, oh, this sounds good. And then I read the book, and it's like, what the fuck is this man saying?
You should have read Fear and Trembling is his best work, but that's okay.
Yes, I did eventually read it, but cause after Caleb recommended it to me,
Yeah.
but man, like holy, because I just got it because it was from my uncle and my great uncle, because my great uncle was I think the term in English would be a confirmed bachelor, but
Yes.
as far as we can tell, a pretty celibate man for a confirmed bachelor, if you
Yeah.
catch my drift. And he was a
Yes.
lawyer and a very devout Catholic. And he had a bunch of works from Catholic theologians. He actually had the Missal from Lefebvre, which, if you're a sedevacantist, you're going to recognize that name. If you're not, you might not.
Yeah.
But
Water's
he's
going over my head.
basically
Yeah.
he's the post Vatican II guy who kept the old Missal.
Okay.
And he had it translated into Portuguese. He had a bunch of works of Catholic philosophy and theology, including stuff from Jacques Maritain, Etienne Guinsol, who were the neo-scholastic school of neo-Thomist school. And he had a few works from Kierkegaard, including The Sickness Unto Death in English, because he couldn't find it in Portuguese.
Yeah.
I never got to meet this man. I only know him from my parents' recollection, but he was a very interesting, but just from his book selection, uh, very interesting man because he really loved the books he had. He didn't have that many, but he treasured all of them. So these are fairly old, like 1950s
Yeah.
editions I have. Some 1940s and even 1930s, which might have belonged to his parents. Uh, so yeah, I have The Sickness Unto Death from that, which is interesting to
It is.
have.
Well, this is a Kierkegaard friendly space. We've done me and my co-host, one of my co-hosts, I have several people come on. Elliot have done a whole thing on. We did a Fear and Trembling analysis of maybe last year at some point. So yeah, no, this is a Kierkegaard friendly space. We like Kierkegaard here. Yeah, but I mean, vocation. This movie is kind of also about if I can put my Lutheran hat back on, since I never really got it off. I just put the Anglican hat on top of the Lutheran hat, if that's okay. If you're allowed to do that, I think you're allowed to do that.
You'll need to talk to the Bishop of Canterbury about that one, not me, brother.
Oh, well, our seat is
But
also
yeah, I know I'm making
our
fun of
seat
you.
is
I'm
also
making fun of
vacant.
you.
As
I'm
I
making fun of you.
as I always say, there's a reason why the ACNA gets its apostolic succession through the Church of Rwanda and not through the Church of England. There's a real
Yeah,
doctrinal
I'm
reason why
making
this
fun of you.
happens.
I know there's
Yeah,
stuff like that.
yeah,
But
yeah.
the only Anglican church here is run by an African Zimbabwean pastor. I know
Yeah,
I'm
there's
making
the
fun of you. I've
Africans are
talked with him quite a
reconverting
bit.
us. We are being
Yeah,
converted by the Africans in a wonderfully hilarious turn, such as the gospel, right? Such as the
yeah.
gospel. In a wonderful turn of events, we are being reconverted by the Africans, which I think is awesome. I think it's very good. I'm happy that they're doing this. But yeah, to put my Lutheran hat back on for 2 seconds, this really is a movie about vocation. And vocation, this concept of what Luther would call beruf or calling, really vocare, to call. And I forget what the Portuguese version is. It's probably something like a
Vocação.
vocas, yeah, some a vocation, yeah. But it has that root of the verb of to call, right? To call
Yep.
out. Yeah,
Voca.
and
Boca.
it's yeah,
Boca, voca. In
yeah.
Spanish, I suspect it'd be the same because
Vocar, I
V is
think
the
it is.
sound of
Yeah.
V.
Yeah. And in German, that's rufen to call, beruf, the you're
Yeah, I was gonna
becalled.
say it sounded like you were saying Beowulf.
Oh yeah, beruf, Beruf, yeah, beruf. So Luther talks about a beruf, a calling, and that's really kind of what I think Robin, in some ways, to bring it to Kierkegaard, is maybe getting he's maybe going a little too like he's blinded to the other things going on, and the film is kind of about him being forced out into the open. But
Hmm.
at the same time, because he's somebody who's followed his calling maybe so autistically,
Hmm.
everyone else has kind of lost their calling, and he's there to be like kind of like the holy fool. He smells, he stinks, he's kind of crazy. He takes someone's bike and they go, hey, and he goes, bah, and he shouts and
He's
just
kind of
takes the
like
bike.
Isaiah,
Yeah,
or like
in
a
a
prophet,
way.
or like yeah, where he's like
Yeah.
calling people who
And
will
he's
listen.
from the wilderness. He comes out of the
Yes,
wilderness. He's
yeah,
a
he comes
voice
out. Yeah,
crying
he's
in
like
the
an Old
wilderness.
Testament
Yeah.
prophet, where
Yeah.
he's sort of disgruntled and doesn't
Yeah.
want to do it,
Yeah.
and he's just forced by basically God, by
Yeah, basically.
circumstances,
Yeah.
to do this thing.
Yeah. You got to
He's
do this
provided
thing.
for miraculously by a mirror.
Yeah.
He's the ravens in the wilderness feeding him, basically.
Basically.
And
Yeah.
Amir has a calling too, and his calling is to man the fuck up. Which
Yeah.
sounds funny when I say it, but that's his calling, and it's fulfilled in the movie when he does, which sounds funny when I say it, when he calls his dad to dinner.
Yeah. So, and
When
that brings
he's like,
the
no,
climatic
dad, we
final
cooked
scene.
this. Yeah, we
Yeah.
cooked this. We did this. You're going to dinner.
Yeah. And
And
so
there's
the
this,
context
it's
of the dinner
wonderfully
is
awkward scene. Yeah, please.
when Robin was big and on the up and up in Portland, in the Portland restaurant scene, he created wonderful meals. And he created a meal that Amir's dad and his mom went out, and it was like one of the few times that she was truly happy. And he remembers this.
That they were both truly
They were
happy
both truly
together that
happy.
Amir saw.
Yeah.
Because they had date nights and
And
they'd always
Amir
argue at the end of it.
and Amir
This is
shares
the
this
one
with
times it wasn't.
Amir shares this with Robin before he knows that Robin was the one who made who was in charge, who was the head chef at that restaurant. And
He
as
says
is
no, he suspects by the end of the scene,
right,
by the end
but
of the
like
conversation afterwards. Yeah,
initially
initially.
he didn't
By the
know
end of the
that.
conversation, he's like, oh,
Mhm.
you were
But
a legend man.
as we learn,
Mhm.
Robin remembers every single meal, which also, I mean,
Yes.
he remembers
Again, it's so like I need to praise the script writer and the director and the editor for holding back because it's so easy to say, I remember every single meal. I remembered you and your wife.
written.
To think that will give additional emotional impact, which in some audience, which on the first watch, it might on most audience members on the move on like the cinema
Yeah.
because cinema likes being explicit.
Yes.
But on like just thinking about it on the level of staying with you and on rewatches, it's much better for him never to mention his wife, for him to not say anything, just say, I remember every meal. He doesn't need to say, I remember you, I remember
Yeah.
your wife. Just say, I remember every meal. Which,
Right.
by the way, you can tell in a rewatch because he asks what happened to Amir's mother before he says anything explicitly
Right.
about her. He
Yeah.
recognizes them because he's seen a picture of his dad He knows who's Amir's father. And it's just a
Michael,
picture, by the
yeah,
way.
sorry, by the way, so directed and written by Michael Sarnoski. So,
Sarnowski, yeah.
Michael Sarnoski, yeah. Um, so they recreate Amir and Robin recreate this, like they go to great lengths to recreate this meal. So much so that they're getting like the exact vintage of wine.
Two
Uh
great scenes, by the way, with that. Amir going to the graveyard?
yeah, to
Is
like
it?
to the what do they call that? Oh my gosh. Well, to the mausoleum, I guess. Is it a mausoleum? I forget what they call where they store ashes. I think that's a mausoleum. Yeah, it's
I
a
think
graveyard,
that
and then
counts.
it's like the lady who helps run, who like curates like the funeral home. Well, maybe not the funeral home, but like at least like the like keeps the like the everything.
Mausoleum
Yeah,
running,
mausoleum. She is also like uses that area to store these like super expensive bottles of wine.
which
I guess.
were given
Yeah,
to her
yeah,
by Robin after his wife died. 'Cause he's like, I don't need these anymore.
right.
Just have it.
Yeah,
And so he goes there to collect that. There's this great scene where Amir learns that basically, again, without saying like, "Oh, that's why you left," as you would like you get in like a Marvel movie tier dialogue,
yeah,
is where it's like, "Oh, he was married. I didn't know that. I didn't like you as the audience have already worked this out. It's like way too obvious. You've worked this out in literally the first 5 minutes if you're not stupid. Um, but Amir has no reason to know this. And there's the scene where he connects to Robin because you've already had a scene where Robin connects to him because of his mother committing suicide, and now he connects to Robin, which is why for I think for the rest that's one of the turning points as well for Amir, where he becomes like a little bit more stoic, and he's like, "No, I'm gonna do this. I'm scared to face up to my dad and do tell him to do something, but I'm gonna tell him to do this." That's one of the turning points of that. And the other scene with Robin and Helen, I believe is her name, is the baker.
the baker.
The,
Yeah. So that
who's
also,
also another authentic character,
yes. So
which is
and
great.
I've
The
also
first
worked.
other authentic
I
character.
used to work in a bakery too. So and so I guess yeah, I'll wear the blue collar in this
Mhm.
conversation. Yeah. There's a reason I say on my Twitter I'm a blue collar PhD. I'm like, yeah, I actually I might have the fancy degree for whatever it's worth, but I actually have worked a fair amount of like lower level jobs. Which is what it is. But I used to work as a baker or baker's assistant, and yeah, like getting good bread is actually really fucking hard, and to do
Yeah,
it consistently en masse is really hard. If you've ever baked bread at home, try doing that for every single day of your life and getting it consistent enough to where people keep coming back for that bread. I mean, it's really hard. That's a craft. And what did she say? There's like I was never you were the chef. You were the chef. I was the baker, or whatever it is. Like
yeah. You were
she's
a chef.
aware of the differences. Yeah, yeah,
Actually, that's the first line she says to him. He says, "You changed the place. I'm a baker.
yeah,
You were a chef.
yeah,
I was a baker.
yeah,
So I kept it the same for a few years, but it wasn't my style.
yeah,
I'm a baker."
yeah.
So she made it a baker.
Yeah, baker because yeah, and there's because
And
bakers are not
dude,
the same thing. It's just
and
not the
maybe I
same
can
thing at all.
mention the
Yeah,
cinematography here because it's so you literally never see her face like completely because
and
it's
it's
like
super early morning.
imagine a shop.
It's
Imagine
super
it's like
yeah.
1 a.m. or
It's
something. Imagine a
like the
like
sun's. It's probably like 4 in the morning, 5 in the
yeah,
morning,
yeah,
and
yeah.
she's
You're right.
already working, which is a typical thing for bakers.
Yes,
You're
yes,
up
you would.
super early, radically early. Yeah,
And it's like for a restaurant, it's fairly small. For a bakery, it's actually pretty spacious.
yeah, pretty big.
But the camera is like almost like CCTV angle. It's
Yeah,
like up in the corner of the room.
yeah,
And it's looking down on both of them. There's like one light on,
yeah.
and all the rest is in shadow,
Well,
and
that's
you
pretty
can't really
typical
see.
because if you turn all the lights on, then the weirdos will like try to get
Yeah,
into your bakery. That's a whole
yeah,
thing too. Like bakers are like they'll have the one light on. You don't want to have
yeah,
like you don't want to overly advertise that you're not open yet. Yeah, it's get away. We're not open yet. The
yeah,
bread's
yeah,
not ready.
yeah.
Get away.
And
Yeah.
the lighting and the cinematography are so good. For this entire scene, it's one shot. You don't really notice it because it's so like beautiful. It's one take for like 90% of this conversation until like the last like two words from from uh from three words. This is better from Nicolas
Yeah.
Cage. Where it's just this shot, and they're talking about basically old times, what she's doing now, and he asks without ever specifying why, "Do you still do basalt baguettes?"
Yeah.
Yes. Is it the same recipe? Yes.
Can I have
Uh,
another, or can I have two, or
and
whatever?
as
Yeah,
he doesn't say that for salted baguettes, he says that for like I don't even know. Is it a sandwich? Is it a French toast? I
or
don't know what
something.
it
Yeah,
is.
yeah,
Yeah, it's something. And that's also a turning point for his character, where this is again the first time he's done something for someone else. Because the only reason he got two is one for himself, because it's just like a 4 a.m. lunch. A
yeah,
salted baguette was for the dinner.
yeah,
And the other one is for Amir, who is his ride there.
yeah,
So that's great. And after they hug, there's this beautiful little moment where where Helen hugs him. He doesn't hug Helen. This is very funny. He goes to Helen to allow himself to be hugged. He
yes,
doesn't actually hug her.
yeah,
It's very funny visually. Again, there's no like explicit jokes in this movie, but there's a lot of very funny stuff every
yes,
now and then.
yeah.
This is one of those where, of
Also,
course, his character will go
him
there to
shouting
be
as he
hugged.
steals the bike is very funny too.
Dude, I was gonna mention that. That's. I laughed really hard. I had to pause the movie. Well, we can come back to that.
Well, I just was
But
saying
yeah,
it's very Pacific Northwest. A crazy man steals your bike. That happens pretty frequently up here. So
yeah.
yeah,
But after he hugs her, and then the camera angle changes, and it's just like a low angle shot from Nicolas Cage. Not that low angle, just above like his, just like at the level of his waist, looking up to his face. Um, and he says, you took away the current, or you changed the current." And she says, "Yeah, Lori always wanted to do that." There's like a 2 second pause, and he just says, "This is better," and then
yeah,
just leaves. Again, no more dialogue. There's a lot of restraint.
yep,
They could have increased this movie's length by like 15 minutes fairly easily, same locations, just adding extra
yeah,
dialogue. It
yeah,
wouldn't be hard at all.
yeah,
And to make a movie, which is a big production, it's not a book. You can have restraint. Restraint in a book is already impressive because you need to trust your audience and trust yourself to make sure you communicated what was necessary, and what was not strictly necessary can be left up to imagination. It's already really hard. Gene Wolfe is a master of that.
yeah. Gene
Faulkner,
Wolfe.
in his ways as well, is a master of that. If you read Sound Fury, which is the only Faulkner book I've read. I've read a bit of The Ravers. I'll finish that one day. Um, and to have that restraint on a big production is really impressive, man. Like I
Yeah,
can't command this movie enough because you feel obviously you're hiring it, you're like renting a location, you're like paying actors by the hour or whatever. You have this whole crew of like cameramen and audio guys who you're paying by the hour, and you're like, well, we're probably gonna be here until like 4 a.m. and it's probably not gonna make that much difference in my budget. I could get a few more lines in, but
yeah,
they don't.
yeah.
It's really commendable. It
Yes.
knows exactly what to cut and what not to cut. It's very impressive.
Yeah, I agree. So as they're so they go to all these this extreme lengths to recreate everything as close to the original as possible in this meal, and then as you say, Amir basically forces his dad to come out and eat this meal, and that scene. I mean, that is like
Should
you
we
said, the
talk about
climax.
that scene now? Do you want
Yeah,
to talk
let's
about
do
it?
that because that's kind of like the
That's the
main
climax
the
of the
climactic.
movie
Yeah,
in
yeah,
terms of, I guess, falling action, because
yeah,
it's the new amount from there on.
yeah. So I mean that and so because like we were talking about earlier, the connection between taste and memory, his Amir's dad, who's been this total asshole, basically mob boss, mafia style guy, like just breaks, he
And it's
breaks.
so good. It's
Yeah,
so good the way he does it, because it's not from the first taste of the dish.
right.
It's from the first taste of it's the dish.
And the
He
wine.
eats a bit of it, and then he drinks the wine,
Yeah.
and then you see him hold himself back, and then he takes another taste of a dish, and then the dam breaks, and he fucking goes away to pour whiskey or brandy or whatever
Yeah, pour
other drink it
whiskey.
is.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And then he's like he's so and Robin follows him and is like because he still wants to know what happened with his pig. Like still wants his pig. And he's
in
like,
a
get
way,
out of
this is
the
a
house.
ploy to get his pig. It's a kindness for a kindness. It's like, I don't
Yeah.
operate within your mafia world rules.
Yeah.
I'm going to do this for you, whether you tell me about the pig or not. But please do tell me about
Yeah.
the pig.
And you learn that when they took the pig, they were too rough, and the pig ended up dying. And then all sound cuts out, as I recall. Yeah, and Robin like collapses to the ground. And I mean,
Can we?
it reminded me of again the reason I was joking before, but I'm also being serious. The one of the only other screen depictions of grief that is that good is also from Nicolas Cage in Mandy with the whole vodka scene where he drinks
Oh,
a bottle of vodka in Mandy, where he
that's
goes
so good.
like, which is a more out of control Cage kind of grief, where he goes through all stages of grief in 30 seconds or whatever it is in that scene, which is
Yes.
yeah, this is a more authentic kind of grief, a non-death metal kind of grief where it's like he just
A
completely
non,
shut
yeah,
down,
a non-pulpy fantasy
a
death
non-pulpy
metal
fantasy
album.
version because you just completely shut down, and that is so well done in the film. I know we're
Dude, can
gushing,
we talk about
but
his act again?
well, I was gonna say
This
Nicolas
movie
Cage
is
can,
very comfortable with holding camera angles.
yes,
And the moment he starts talking about it takes like him, I think around 15 seconds to say the pig died.
yeah,
But from his first like 3 words, you know the pig died.
yeah,
And you know Nicolas Cage knows, but he's hoping he's gonna end his little spiel saying the pig is hurt or something.
yeah,
Like
and not
you know
dead.
that's what he's hoping. And you
You're
see
hoping,
him progressively like break down,
yeah,
standing up. It's just on his face, it's just his expression. And his expression is covered up by a big bushy beard, by the way.
yeah,
You can barely see his face. And during all of it, he's like breaking down further and further that when he collapses, again, same camera angle, it just pans down to hold
yeah.
his body as it falls. Um, it's not a surprise. You just knew it was going to happen. It's all building to this. And it's so good.
It is
Just
good.
the acting, the directing, the cinema, it's really perfect. It's
Again,
impressive.
the Mandy depiction of grief is great, but it's not realistic. But it's great in that it's so over the top, and it is what, and it he goes into a
It's
revenge.
archetypal, maybe.
Yeah, he
It's
goes
more
into a
like,
revenge arc afterwards with the
yeah, it's
crossbow.
like it's a
But
pulp fantasy.
yeah, it's a
I guess
pulp
not to say
fantasy.
pulp fantasy is
Yeah.
invalid, but it's to say it's more like dealing with something more archetypal,
Yes.
usually.
Yeah.
It's dealing with, these more abstract ideas in not abstract ideas in the sense, oh, we're gonna discuss philosophy now, but abstract in the sense like I'm not gonna sit you down and we're gonna go through the 5 fucking stages of grief
Yeah.
right now. We're just gonna sum it up in 30 seconds.
Right.
And
Right.
you're gonna get all of them, but it's gonna be 30 seconds
Yeah, it's gonna be 30
because I
seconds.
got
Yeah.
shit to do,
Yeah,
says the
exactly.
author.
Yeah. But in this one, yeah, this is okay, so I guess I'll only speak personally.
Mhm.
I think that is a very accurate
It's very good.
depiction of what real traumatic grief looks like, particularly regarding death.
Hmm.
And particularly death that you didn't see coming, a surprise death, a death that was out of nowhere. I think that grief, so speaking just from my own experience, so whatever that's worth. I think grief is the grief that you see coming is really hard in a different way. It's hard it's hard in a different way. If it's more of the you know it's coming and it's just a matter of when. But the grief out of nowhere, like the surprise loss, that is what it feels like. You literally, I mean, just speaking personally, you literally can't hear what people are saying to you. You kind of go in and out, and it's hard to remember. You do remember that those that you remember hearing it sort of, but it is like you also kind of your chronology of events is screwed up. This is just speaking personally, everyone reacts to grief differently. But like for me, like I'll misremember the order of things I heard because it just your brain is just so like you shut down and you do lose it. If it's somebody or something, again, I think animals is the I'm an animal lover. I'm a big St. Francis guy. When you lose an animal that you really loved, it is like losing a person. And
Out of nowhere.
I don't mean that
I
in
think
like
for
a
animals, the
I don't
preparation really
I mean like a
softens the blow
pet,
compared
like
to
a
people.
beloved pet. And I don't mean this in some sort of cringe cat lady way. I mean it in like a like you really love this animal and it's gone now. Or this person and they're gone now. They're and you know that this side of glory you're never getting them back. And that's like it is you break down. You just completely so I mean to you get even a little bit more autobiographical if that's all right. My dad died very unexpectedly. and he was half a world away, and I never got to say goodbye, and I never got to go to the funeral, and I never got to do any of those things. And so it was like he was literally there one moment, and and I had talked to him, and then he wasn't there anymore, and like I'll never get to have. There was no goodbye. And there was this moment of like he's gone, but he's not. He was not. He was. I wasn't near him when he died, so it was like I kind of faked it for like 12 hours that it was quote unquote okay. And I
Mhm.
remember like driving around Seattle. So it's a little different than depicted in the film, fine. But I remember like driving around Seattle and I didn't even like know where I was. I was just driving. Like I literally was just driving. And I kind of like I ended up like I was like, well, I guess I'll just drive to like where our old neighborhood. And like I drove to our old neighborhood. And speaking of food, I went and got like some fast food that like me and my dad always liked getting. Speaking of fast food, Dick's Drive-In, shout out if you're in Seattle, Dick's Drive-In, Lake City. You got your Dick's Drive-In, you eat your gut bombs at Dick's Drive-In, and I was just like, and so he had been in like he was like brain dead basically. He had a massive stroke. He was brain dead, and they were like debating whether to pull him off the plug. And he's in the Philippines, and so it's like I was basically like to my stepmom, you guys do what you got to do. Like you got to say goodbye in your way. Like don't keep him on life support for me because I can't say goodbye, right? Like
Uh-huh.
I'm however many thousand miles away. And I made, and so she was dealing with her own nightmare of dealing with that. But and then it was like I got like a text because it's in the rural Philippines. Like, okay, they pulled him off life support. He's finally dead now. And there was this weird moment of like relief, I guess, because it was like, well, at least he's dead now, which is like, oh, it sounds horrific to say, but there's this like, but he's like, that's crazy to leave somebody on life support if they have no chance of coming back. Like, that's
No,
ridiculous.
no.
It
There's
doesn't
a
make
lot of
sense. Yeah. Speaking of the
talk
movie,
in
right? Like,
Catholic circles. Also, the movie. Yeah.
yeah, speaking of the movie, like keeping somebody in this vegetative state makes no sense. It's not life, it's just the absence of death. You're just it's not a real kind of ensouled living that you're experiencing. And
No,
also
it's
you
this
can't
focus
know
on keeping the heart beating,
you
basically.
can't know
It's
that the
not a
person
focus on life,
well,
it's
and
a focus on keeping the
you
heart
can't know
beating.
that the person's not in excruciating pain. How do you know that they're not in excruciating pain? You don't know that actually. You can't prove
Mhm.
that to me scientifically, which means they could be in excruciating pain, so you could be prolonging their suffering, right? There's all sorts of complex ethical things that go through your mind. And my dad was one that never really wanted to be kept on life support. He had told me that. Like, he's like, if I'm ever a vegetative state, pull the plug. And he meant it too. Like, my dad was somebody, he was a cop. He had seen death before. Like, he knew what he's like, I don't want to be a vegetable. I want to either be living my life or I would like to be dead. I don't want to be in between. And so it was this thing where like there was this whole process of convincing my stepmom like, hey, you got to do this, you got to let him go, you cannot keep, you got to let him go. And she wouldn't do because it's hard, right? I don't judge her at all, like it's like you have to do this. And so she finally did it. And so then it was this weird like complete like PTSD kind of like I somehow drove my car home. I don't even really remember how I got home. I just like drove home somehow, I guess. And then like I got home and then like I was like I'm back home. And I kind of think I kind of knew on the drive home, you're going to lose it once you get home, but you can't lose it right now because you're on I-5, which is the freeway through Seattle. You're on the freeway right now. You cannot, you're going to kill somebody or yourself if you lose it. You can't lose it right now. It's weird how your mind can do this, right? Like,
No,
so that's
yeah.
like the defense you're like, but when you get home, you're going to break down. You're like, I won't break down. And you're like, oh, you're going to break down. There's that part of you that knows. And then when I got home, it was like, I literally couldn't, I barely ate for like 2 weeks. I don't even remember half the time what I was doing that summer. I was like in shock. But I would go from in shock to having moments like Nicolas Cage does, where you're like you can't process what's happening. You're like you wake up and you're just like crying like crazy because it's like it wasn't just that okay somebody you cared about died, which is horrible. It's like it threw all these stuff like was now on my plate. I had to take care of all these things. There was all this stuff, and it's almost like you didn't even have time to deal with it. Anyhow, that every grief is a little different. Sorry to get all touchy feely there, but the point is that like that breakdown phase of when you finally break through all of your defenses, that is exactly what it felt like. And so watching this movie for the first and then now for the second time, I was like, damn, it captures it perfectly. This is exactly what that felt like for me. It's like I don't even hear, I'm like screaming, but I don't hear what people are saying to me because you can't process it. You're like, it's worse than any physical pain when you lose somebody like that. I think it's worse than any physical pain I've experienced. So in any case, what I'm trying to say is I'm praising Cage's acting
It's
because
really good. It's
I
fantastic.
would never want to revisit that state again. If somebody, even if somebody was paying me a lot of money to do it in acting, this is why I can't be an actor. I'm like, I can't go back to that because it was such a horrific thing I had to deal with. And Cage is getting up there in years. He's probably lost parents. I'm assuming he's probably lost people he's cared about.
Oh yeah,
He probably
he's
has
like 60 now, right?
he
Or
can
like
draw
late
from
50s.
experiences, right? But I mean, I don't know how you can do that and be. I couldn't be sane if I was drawing from that.
Yeah,
I don't
I
ever want
will
to talk
say
about experience.
two things about
Yeah,
this. One is a very is kind of making fun of the idea that he needs to draw from experience in this. There's a famous quote from Laurence Olivier when he met a method actor, the guy who would really inhabit the
yeah.
character, and he said, "Well, why don't you, instead of trying to live like this character, just try acting?" As if like
Right.
this guy,
And I
to
get,
play Hamlet, you don't
yeah.
literally need to go mad. Uh,
You don't need to be like Daniel Day-Lewis and
or
like
hate,
live
yeah,
live as Hamlet for 3 weeks in order
yeah,
to be,
and
yeah.
just,
No,
I'd say he might just act well.
no,
He doesn't
I
need
no,
to.
and I
He
think
doesn't
Cage
need to
does act
revisit
well.
the mental space.
My point is though, that is such a convincing depiction
Yes, that is.
of
It's
grief. I'm
very
like
good.
that's not. I don't. It's almost like Cage wasn't acting. Like he's not acting in this scene.
No,
He's
he
like
looks like he's
he's
actually
recreating
distraught.
something that he's
It
experienced.
looks like a recreation, but then
Yeah,
again,
yeah.
he could just be that good an
He
actor.
could just be
We
that
don't
good of an
know.
actor, right? Yeah, I
But
don't know. Yeah, yeah,
oh God, yeah. The second thing is,
yeah.
in the spirit of Anglo-Catholic humanism, I will mention that the best depiction of literary grief probably ever recorded is C.S. Lewis's A Grief
Yeah.
Observed,
Yes.
which is nonfiction. Have you read
Yeah.
it?
I
All
have. No,
right.
yeah.
Then
When
you
when
can
my
join
dad
me in
when
heartily recommending it to
when my
literally anyone.
yeah, when my dad died, a friend of mine gifted me that book and was like, "You should read this." And I didn't want to, but I read it anyhow and was glad I did. It was very real in the moment to read it, but
Do
it
you
was
want
helpful.
just a funny story? C.S. Lewis originally wrote that book anonymously. He used a pen name because as
Oh,
he uses it during the book, he never says his wife's name. He like
right.
shortens like Mrs. something,
Yeah.
using an initial, I believe, which might not even been the correct one. Uh, and which is why he did that, because he wasn't writing as C.S. Lewis. He didn't
Right.
want to. He didn't want to, sort of air his laundry out to the world. And then several friends recommended the book to him, and he was like after like the second or third one, he was like, "Okay, fine, I wrote the fucking book."
Yeah.
And that's
It
it's
was
like,
me.
yeah, you could say I wrote it. Fine, it's put in my name now.
Yeah. Yeah. Well,
That
that's
might be apocryphal. I'm getting this from like a fucking podcast of like Dr. Peter Kreeft, who's a philosopher.
well, that's
Like
also
that might be apocryphal,
it
but
reminds me
it's
a bit
very funny.
of the whole Curtis Yarvin where people are like, this Mencius mold bug guy, and he's like, what about it? I'm like, sounds a lot like you.
Actually, speaking of grief, one of the other best depictions of grief comes from a very unexpected source, which is Curtis Yarvin.
Yeah, that's
His
why.
poem of
Yeah,
his dead wife is one of the better pieces of poetry I've read composed in this
he wrote a
century.
poem. I haven't read the poem.
It's really, really, really good. I need to find it's in Gray Mirror. He
Okay.
took like a month or 2 months off writing after
Yeah.
his wife passed away. I think it's called Tubes. He had two poems. One was about his children after his wife passed, and one was about his wife. Because she was, I believe, how do you say? She had like tubes down her throat by the end. She was
Intubated.
in the
Yeah,
hospital.
intubated. Yeah.
Intubated.
Yeah.
Um, it's very good.
Okay,
It's
I'll check it out.
very, very. I need to find it. I believe it's called Tubes. It should be on the Gray Mirror Substack. It
Okay.
is one of the free pieces there.
Yeah, yeah.
It's very good. One of the best poems I've read composed in this century.
Okay. I will. I'll try to find it, include it in the in the show notes here. Yeah. No, but I mean, grief is, it's universal. If you're living life correctly, you will experience grief, right? Like
Yes.
if you're not living life correctly, then you won't experience grief, and that's
Much
a
like
shame.
you'll have enemies, you'll know your own quality by the quality of your by how many enemies you have and how
Yeah.
good they are at being your enemies.
Yeah. Yeah. No, it's one of those unescapable things, but man, this movie, like, and then the way it ends is like, I guess they stop at this little diner near Robin's cabin, and They don't have the, what is it? They wanted pie. They don't have pie. They have like cookies and a brownie or whatever it is. Like we'll have the brownie. And so they just like it ends with this like very normal, non-fancy kind of American food, which is also kind of interesting. Like and with the implication being that like Robin actually does go back to the cabin, he's going to continue to
Mhm.
do truffle hunting because he never needed the pig. That's the thing too, is
He
because it
mentions earlier when they're just sitting by the car
yeah.
and after the father has said, I'm not gonna fucking tell you about the pig,
Mm,
basically, and offered to bribe him to just go away,
mhm.
and threaten him if he didn't accept it. And Amir and Robin are just sitting by the car, and Robin just admits, I never needed the pig. I can
Yeah.
tell by the trees. They just look
Well,
different to me.
and there's an early scene where he takes a knife and he takes part of the turf off the or he takes part of the dirt off the ground and puts it in his mouth and breathes in with his nostrils flaring. This is a thing that you can do to try to taste. You speaking of tasting and memory, you're tasting for you can taste truffle. If certain people can do this, they can sniff truffle. Again, this weird mycelium network thing that truffles do where they grow. You can kind of sometimes a trained hunter who has a good enough nose can do that where they can sniff it. But usually you use pigs or dogs because it's just easy. They smell better than humans do. But yeah, Robin does he never needed the pig. The pig was there as his friend. Um, which is also like heart heartwarming in a way, like the pig was just his friend. And maybe he let the pig think the pig was helping, right? Like as you do.
Mhm.
Like sometimes I don't have a pig, but I have a dog and I really love my dog. And my dog's good at very many things. She's also not good at very many things, but I hope that she thinks she's doing a good job regardless of whether she did the
Yes.
thing correct or not, because she's a dog and you love her and the dogs want to know that they're doing things right. So you praise her regardless of whether she did the trick correctly
Mhm.
or not because she tried hard, right? Like, and
Yeah.
they love you. And I mean, a genuine
It's the
connection
spirit of Allah, not the letter
spirit.
of
Yeah,
it.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Like, that'll do pig, that'll do kind of a babe in a babe sense, like, right? Like the pig was just
Yeah.
being a pig. Pig was being a good pig regardless. And yeah, it's like that's why they went on this crazy quest is because it's like I love the pig. I love her. Like that's why I'm going to try to get her back. It's not because of it's
Oh
not a
yeah,
tra-
he
it's
says
not
that in the movie. That's one of the few things
it's
that's
not
made
it's not
explicit.
yeah, it's not a
It's like Amir
transactional.
asked, "Why the fuck are we doing this then?" Because initially he sold on this, because like, oh shit, my truffle business is gonna
Yeah,
go fucking under if I don't have this guy,
yeah,
because he's like my only source.
yeah,
And he's the best source if he's not the
right.
only one. He's at least the best one.
Yeah,
Um, and then after that, he's not like angry like he would be at the
right.
beginning if Robin admitted it, but
Yeah,
he's like a little confused. And then Robin says, "I loved her." And then Amir, in the beginning, he would have been like, "Fuck whatever you love."
yeah, yeah,
Now he's just like, "Yeah, I get it." He just nods. He's like,
yeah. I think there's something
"Great
very
acting scene."
there's great acting. I think there's something very selfless in that. Um, I think again, I think the Robin character really probably is, as we've been talking about, more of a prophet like character. But there is I'm not saying he's a Christ figure per se. There's something very Christ like in that like yeah, but you're not going to get anything from you're not going to
He's a
gain anything.
Christian figure.
Yeah, you're not going to gain anything from getting this pig back. He's like, yeah, but that's not the that's I love the pig. So I'm going to like go to hell, like get my ass handed to me over and over and over again. Like just like to try to get this and then right like it's because he's a Christian figure. He fails and he doesn't save the pig and he couldn't save his wife. But he's left with their memories and like throughout the film there's this he has this old cassette and as a child of the 90s I do like the idea like the old cassette. I'm like yes, cassette tapes, cassette futurism. And it says there's a message written on the tape. It says for Robin, so for him. And he
Yes.
tries to play it initially early in the film, and his wife starts talking, and he stops it. Like he can't hear it. It's too much. It's too
It's.
real.
I think it was implied. It might. That might just be my literary imagination running loose because I've seen in other books that, especially actually, The Passenger by Cormac McCarthy. There is something very similar to this thematically with an unopened letter. Um, and he might never have listened to the song, which we can talk about the cover and
Yeah,
what
I
the
don't
song
think
it's
I
covering
don't think he
and
listened to
who
the
did it.
song.
And
Yeah,
yeah, I also have the impression he
he
only
didn't listen
listened to
to
the
it.
beginning to listen to the voice of his wife, because the beginning is his wife is recording a song for his birthday. It's
Yeah.
made very obviously she plays a string of a guitar just to
She's
see if
tuning,
it's tuned.
tuning the guitar.
Yeah,
Yeah.
she's tuning the guitar, and he
Yeah.
walks into the room, and she starts, they start laughing. You can't hear what Robin says, but they're bantering, and
Yeah.
she's like, I'm trying to surprise you. Go
Yeah.
away. And it's
Yeah.
this very cute dialogue with the most hobo man you've ever seen in your life. He looks dirty. He looks like he smells like shit. He probably hasn't showered in 15 years, literally. Um, and
At least
it's
10. Yeah.
yeah, it's
Yeah.
something like that, and it's very cute, and it's very very good. And he just stops like the moment he thinks the song is like I think he can tell the moment he walks away.
Yeah.
He knows when he left the room. He stops it.
Yeah.
He doesn't want to hear it. And you
Yeah.
feel like it's a ritual because he does this before the pig gets stolen. It's just something
Yeah.
he does after truffle hunting.
Yeah.
It feels like just a part of his day to day.
Well, and so then at the end he listens to the whole song, which for me the first, I mean, definitely the second time I saw it a few days ago, but the first time I saw it about 4 months ago, I was, I mean, I was already blown away by the movie. But then that ending, I mean,
Oof.
just so it's a wonderful cover of one of my favorite songs. So it's a cover of I'm on Fire by Bruce Springsteen, done by Cassandra Violet, who's a wonderful singer, I believe from LA. Very good voice, just naturally talented, but a completely different take on the song. I mean, it is I'm on Fire, but it's not.
I like it better than the original, which is one of
It
the
is
few
it is
covers
better.
that's
It is
done
better
that for
than
me.
it is better than the original.
And
As
I
much as
really like the original. It's
I
not
love
that
the
like,
boss,
oh,
but
it's a move.
yeah.
It's like a good song, kind of ruined by Springsteen's voice, which you can say of some Bob Dylan
Well,
songs, despite me loving Bob
Springsteen
Dylan.
is known. Okay, so the band covered Atlantic City, which is a Springsteen song originally, but their cover is better than Springsteen's original. Springsteen is a talented songwriter, and he does sing good, but there are people who sing better than he does. And so,
Yes, which
yes,
is
this is
my
yeah,
experience with a lot of Bob Dylan.
yeah, Bob Dylan, yeah, yeah. Well,
He does
All
not
Along the
have the most.
Watchtower is a
Yeah,
lot better by Jimi Hendrix than it is by Bob
yes.
Dylan.
There's a lot.
Like,
He does not
yeah,
have the best voice of all time. Though I will say there is what is it? I'm a Heart of Stone and something of Jesus, follower of Jesus is a servant. It's something of Jesus, which is also I think there's something to his voice. The fact that it's not that good, but it feels more authentic with it.
yeah,
Where you've got a Heart of Stone, uh, and the other one of his other gospel songs of his two gospel albums is really really good with his voice. But there's probably better voices like on an aesthetic level, which would
right,
make that song even
yeah,
better because they're already really really good.
yeah, yeah,
And Cassandra Violet pulls it up. She doesn't only. It's not just the voice that changes. It's now a sad song,
yeah.
and it's not just the context. If we just link the song in the description and you never watch the movie and you just listen to it, you can tell it's a sad song.
Hmm.
I don't know if the arrangement, the chords, I don't know if it's
Something about
different.
I'm not a yeah. It's something
Um,
I think they shift.
I know
She
I
shifts
can
some
play the
stuff around.
piano, but I know no musical theory. I can read
Yeah,
notes and I play them. That's all. Um, and it's just amazing.
it
It's
is
really
amazing,
really good.
and that's a song that does make me think of my. It's hilarious. My wife does not like Bruce Springsteen, but that song makes me think of her. Like and so it's kind of my song for her, but
It's a very man to woman
she can't
song.
stand me playing that song, which is very funny.
It's a
Yeah.
very like man, like husband to wife song, and
Yeah,
not wife
yeah,
to
yeah,
husband song.
yeah.
If that
It's
makes
funny
any
in that.
sense.
Yeah, but so and then that's
Even
how
with a female voice, it actually kind of
even
works
with the
better
female
for a
voice.
female voice in a way.
Yeah,
But you can kind of tell it's a very male experience of love and desire for
yeah,
someone loved. I
yeah.
mean, in a romantic sense.
I mean, cutting a
Uh,
6-inch valley through the middle of my soul. I mean, like that's a great
Dude,
line. That's a great
Skull, right?
line.
Or is it Skull or Soul?
Oh, skull, skull. Sorry, skull. You're right. Yeah,
Skull.
skull. Through middle. Yeah, 6-inch valley through the middle of my skull. Yeah, it's a great line. It's
Which
just a
works both literally and figuratively. It's like you can literally have a headache thinking of this person.
yeah,
Uh, and also it's just always on your mind.
When me and my wife hadn't started dating yet, was we had this like
Yeah,
hilarious.
exactly. It's before you
It's
really like
before.
haven't established.
Yeah,
Yeah,
we
that
haven't
moment
established
before.
it yet. Yeah, we
Yeah,
were both of us are incredibly awkward people,
yeah,
and
where you're lying in bed just like
we
just thinking
secretly
about it.
we it's so funny. Again, this is the autobiographical episode, but hopefully this is why this movie's so good and this cover is so good because it
Yes.
speaks to so many things that like it speaks to experiences that you as an audience member might have had. Like when me and my wife were first, we hadn't even started dating yet. We're both very awkward people. We both really liked each other, but didn't know how to say it. And so we thought the other person didn't like the other person. And we were driving each other crazy. Now we drive each other crazy for the rest of our life together, which is awesome. But there was this like hilarious 2 week period where we were like, we actually like had to get in a fight to figure out that we liked each other. It's very funny. Like it got to this crazy head where we were like, why did I
Uh-huh.
like you? I like you too. Oh, I didn't know. And so, but like that song captures that like pent up, like what is happening? Yeah, I don't know how to make this work.
I'm on fire.
I'm on
Yeah.
fire. Yeah, I was not thinking correctly for about 2, 3 weeks. So yeah, that song I love that song, but yeah, it becomes sad, but also like touching. I know that that's like that term is sort of overused in a way, but it is touching. Like it's this touching rendition of the song where it's sad but still full of love, I guess. Which is and Rob is sitting there on his cot in his cabin. He has no pig now, and it like it just cuts off the image, but you still hear the song, and
And
then the
he's
credits
looking
start
up.
to roll.
There's
Yeah, he's
one light. There's like technically two light sources in the room because there's the window, but
yeah,
there's really one light shining on him. It's almost like a biblical
yeah,
image. It looks like a painting from like 19th century painting of a New Testament story.
yeah,
And there's this light shining on him, and he doesn't slowly look up, but as he's pondering the song for like a solid minute or so before the credits roll while the song
yeah,
continues playing, kind of just looks up, and for 10 seconds it just holds on him like looking up
yeah,
towards the light. And
yeah,
I will say before this, one of the last lines, probably my favorite extension of the movie, is just three lines. It goes, Robin saying, I'm just thinking of, in a response to a question from Amir, what are you thinking of? I'm just thinking of if I'd never gone after the pig, she'd still be alive, at least in my mind.
yeah,
And after a pause, Amir, I haven't watched this movie in like 2 or 3 years. Um, Amir, in my mind, it was Robin who said this.
yeah,
Amir goes, which is a real sign of maturity for the character. Character goes, but then it wouldn't be real. He's
yeah,
the one reminding Robin now of what's real.
yes,
And he goes, but it wouldn't be real. And then
yeah,
after like 30 seconds of Robin both just being there and I think standing up to leave, he just looks back to Amir and says, no, it wouldn't be.
yeah,
Which you can tell it's about a lot more than the pig,
yes,
which
yeah,
is why he decides to listen to the rest of the tape, as we
yeah,
mentioned in the beginning of this little
yeah.
tangent.
And I'll see you next Thursday. It's like this is gonna go back to truffle hunting. Yeah, life goes on. Yeah. But it's man, this movie, if you've made it to this part of the episode, kudos to
We've
you.
not, I want everyone to know we have not talked about most of the movie. We've
Yeah,
talked about like 5 scenes.
yeah,
You can watch this movie and know the ending because at one point it's like at that 40% point, they make it fairly obvious who took the pig. You
yeah,
can watch it, man, and there's nothing less.
yeah,
It's really, really good. And a lot of it hinges on the acting and the script, which both are perfect, and
yep,
the direction and
yeah,
cinematography. They're
yeah,
both excellent. Amir, for example, this is actually an observation from the Red Letter Media review of Pig, which I stole, but I think it's really good. Where for like the first 70% of the movie, no one gives a shit about Amir, and
yeah, I
they'll cut
know.
him off like mid
Yeah,
conversational,
yeah,
including the movie.
yes,
This
I
I
know.
mentioned this where
Yeah,
he's like on the mirror pumping himself up, and the movie like cuts mid sentence because the movie will not give him the time of day until he mans the fuck up,
yeah,
which he does
he does.
eventually,
Yeah,
but he does do it. Like
yeah,
it's kind of like Amir is way more endearing to me
yes.
now. Like
Oh
on a
yeah,
rewatch, I like him a lot more because you can tell like, oh, all my self image issues are now with Amir. Like
yeah,
I don't. Like he's in a way a bit of the audience stand-in, but he works better on a rewatch in a way because you can tell all his problems. But they're very good at visually and like indirectly hinting at it. Again, you can tell it immediately he arrives there and he's like wants the pig away from his car.
Yeah.
Because his car is a yellow Camaro, and it's later kind of revealed that he probably doesn't like it. He probably doesn't like his shirt. He probably doesn't like his blazer, but he says it. This business is all about image.
Yeah.
Which is one of his lines.
Hmm.
It's like I can't be walking around with you in the city. You
Yeah.
look like shit.
Yeah.
Um, I can't be seen with you, man.
Yeah.
And it's dude, I love Amir. Like he's so good.
Yeah.
He's amazing.
Let's give some credits here. Patrick Scola did the cinematography. This movie
Yes.
so wonderfully captures the
Holy
Pacific
shit.
Northwest, specifically Portland area during the fall, before the leaves, all the leaves have dropped, and it's very like I mean Seattle has basically the same climate. I live this climate. I love this climate, but yeah, if you're like so underground foodie fight club,
Oh
I
yeah,
don't
should we talk
that's
about
real.
Fuck Seattle?
But yeah,
Because there's two
The fuck Seattle. Yeah, yeah,
because there's two scenes which tie into it. First,
yeah,
there's the like 40 minutes before the second scene happens. He talks about we don't need to care, and then between brackets was said, but about what people think about us.
right.
Because like every 200 years, there's enough earthquake, and whoever survives the earthquake, they'll see a giant wave coming,
Yeah,
and they'll fucking die, and
yeah,
it'll crash down on top of them. And
yeah,
there's one coming in this century,
yeah,
and probably in the next 50 years. We don't need to care. And then 40 minutes later in the movie, when they're sitting by the car after Robin
yeah.
failed,
We could
after
run to Mount Hood.
yeah,
Mount Hood's an active
you
volcano.
know, and it's so good because they don't. Alex Amir doesn't say you remember that conversation
Yeah,
as you would be tempted to if
yeah,
you're a scriptwriter. You want the
yeah,
audience following along. You can just tie it together. It's great. You can just do it. And he brings it back up.
yeah.
Without like indirectly, like you would in a real like I've had conversations with my mother where 3 weeks later she will ask me a question about a conversation we've had like 3 weeks earlier, and like she won't it won't explicitly mention the topic, but I'll just know it.
Yeah.
Like some people just like people do work like that.
Yeah, when
It's
people
just
talk
like
like this. Yeah,
yeah, exactly. And
yeah,
you don't need to say, "Oh, yo, you remember that conversation we had like
yeah, yeah.
yesterday?" You just kind of continue with
Pick
it
it
because
back
it's
up.
just something
Mhm.
that's both on both your minds.
Yeah.
Um, Again, a lot of restraint in the script of this
Oh
movie.
yeah.
Amazing. And he kind of says, we could run to Mount Hood, and he says Mount Hood is an active volcano.
Yeah.
I mean, a bit comedic already. He
Yeah.
says, there's a pause, and he says, "We moved to Seattle. Fuck Seattle."
Fuck Seattle. Portland and Seattle. That's
No,
just
no,
it.
no. He doesn't say we can move to Seattle. He'd say, "Well, I'd rather die than move to Seattle." And then he
Yeah.
says, "Fuck
Fuck
Seattle."
Seattle. Yeah. That's just it's very yeah, Portland and Seattle, we like to pretend that we are different cities. We are both similar. I mean, Portland is more artsy, fartsy, a little less, button up suit business like, but I mean, honestly, Seattle and Portland have a lot of the same good things. They also unfortunately have a lot of the same bad things. And but it is funny that they work that into this script. That shows you that they put time and effort into making it an authentically Portland
It
setting.
might be a Portland
People
resident
make people make
or
fun
native.
people people make fun of like Portlanders people from Portland make fun of Seattleites and vice versa. Like this is just a thing. Not like it's not brutal, but it's like, we don't even have competing sports teams now that there's no more Supersonics, but like yeah, it's just we, we're people in the Pacific Northwest tend to be a little bit more reserved. If you're actually from here and not a transplant, you tend to be more reserved, but you might say something kind of offhand like fuck Seattle, right? Or fuck Portland. Like you might just say it like that. No, you're not going to start a fight over it, but you might just say it, right? You just might just throw it in there because, ugh, yeah. Uh, but yeah, so it's just such a wonderful film. I highly recommend everyone watch it. Obviously, me and Bulge are very biased,
It's
but
one of my top 5 movies of all time
so
that I've watched
good.
so far. I should
It's
mention.
so
Yeah, it's
good.
really good.
And
They blew me away. I
it
didn't
came out
expect it to be that
during
good.
the pandemic, and so it didn't get the love that it deserved. And it sadly, I think, will become one of these films that's loved by weird autist people like us and film nerds and kind of forgotten by other people. But I think that's a shame. I hope it gets some love and maybe now that it's a streaming, you can watch it easily. Like, do watch it. It is such
Thankfully,
a good
Nicolas Cage
movie.
is a fairly high profile actor in the sense that even if you don't watch his movies, because his last movies for like the last decade and a half have been like somewhat indie movies
Yeah.
because he wants to pay his alimony or whatever the fuck it is.
Yeah.
I forget what it is, but he'll just do almost anything. And apparently he's like really a joy to work with. He's like really cooperative.
Yeah.
I've watched a bunch of interviews of people who worked with him and they fucking love them. But I think because Nicolas Cage is will always be kind of a cult classic actor even after he dies. I
Yeah.
hope Pig will gain the respect it deserves,
It,
especially Nicholas Sarnoski, because as a writer director, holy shit, man,
I
that
think
was a
it's
hell of a debut film.
Michael Sarnoski. Yeah,
Michael,
Yeah, Michael Sarnoski.
sorry,
Yeah. No, you're good. Yeah, I said the film it was made in 2001, so that shows you where I'm at. It's a
yeah.
Friday. I'm exhausted. Yeah, no, it's fine. No, it's a great film. I'm actually so I guess I'll just for what it's worth. My church parish up here in the Pacific Northwest does like a monthly sort of like faith and film nights where at a parishioner's house like people bring food and it's like you watch a movie and you discuss the film and they're not like Veggie Tales stuff. We're Anglican. It's like actual real movies. And so I've been pushing for like
We aren't
months. You are
non-denominational.
not
We'll actually
non-denoms.
watch.
We had actual art. But I've been pushing for months for this film
You should,
to
yes,
include. So
continue the good fight.
if some people watching have followed the link that I sent you in the church chat group, please include Pig and the Faith and Film because it's so good and it's incredibly sacramental. It's prophetic in the sense of like in all senses, but like it's like he's a prophet figure. He's a wilderness prophet who like has to smack some sense or get the sense smacked into him. Maybe
It's
both,
both,
right?
yeah, both
Both.
ways,
Yeah, both
as it
ways.
works with wilderness prophets.
Yeah, so it
They're
works.
usually reluctant. They don't want to. And
Yeah,
God tells them to go to a river and they're going to be fed by ravens. They're like, no. What the
yeah.
fuck are you talking? When they go to a new city, it's like, yeah, go to this old widow and she's going to use all she has to feed you. I forget which prophet it was. He's like, no, I'm not going to do that,
Well,
man.
I think of Jonah, right? Is like this, is
Yeah,
like the I'm
Jonah
gonna
is
run
the
away. I'm gonna be
he's in a way
swallowed
the
by a fish.
archetypal
Yeah,
prophet figure in
yeah.
the
I don't
Old
want to do
Testament
this.
prophet. Yeah.
Yeah.
He's the most like archetypal, I don't want to do this, man, prophet of all time.
And then there's the bit to where Jonah's like, I just want to die, and God's like, here's a tree that like or a plant that grows up to provide him shade. And he's like, yeah, I just want to die. And like God's like, no, you don't get to die. You got to do these things. Like,
Yeah, yeah,
ah.
yeah, yeah.
He's like, here's some food. Okay, maybe I will. Yeah, yeah, yeah. So
Also a bit like Job, because he
yeah,
loses both
Job
literally everything he
loses.
has.
Yeah,
There's a lot of Book of Job in this,
yeah,
if you want to look. Although I should say there isn't much about Job thematically, because a lot about Job is like the excuses of comfort or comforting excuses. That's a
yeah.
lot of the Book of Job, um, where God literally swoops in, Deus Ex Machina style, at like the last bit and goes like, "The only person who's spoken well of me here is Job, not any of you free retards." Uh,
Forgive me,
and
Lord,
he still
for I am
takes Job
evil.
to task. He's like,
Yeah,
"Where were you when I laid?" Again, one of the best lines of the Old Testament. It's that and the blood of Abel cries from the ground to for vengeance. That really stuck with me on my first read through
I
of
got
all of it.
there's the Psalms have some bangers too. The
Song
Psalms,
of Love,
yeah, Psalms
the
got some
Song of
bangers. Yeah,
Songs,
yeah,
as well really stuck with me. Where's the bridegroom?
yeah,
But that the Book of Job, man, it's really one of the great. It's probably the greatest literary achievement of ancient Hebrews. One of the greatest literary achievement of any ancient peoples, including the Greeks,
yeah,
including the Odyssey and the Iliad, and I'm including the Aeneid from the Romans,
yeah.
from Virgil. It's really up there. And you kind of don't read it at your own peril. But again, where were you when I laid the foundations of the world? There's a bit to that in the sense that there isn't an answer to like, oh, why did my wife die? And it's because now you can see the miracle of life, or
Yeah,
as you would
yeah,
as a non-denom movie would be tempted to do.
exactly.
Uh,
Yeah,
you don't like, no, man. Sometimes shit happens.
Yeah.
And it can either be a test for you, it can be for another person, it can be for a good you will not see in 1,000 years. It might be a butterfly effect thing. You don't
Yeah.
know. All you know, if you live in faith, is that it serves some good. That's that's it. It can be
Well,
any good
and
ever.
you kind of just have to live out your vocation in spite of everything, and that is what he does. He's forced back into cooking.
Yeah, you need to live like Christ as well. You need to live in the
He's
sense that you
because when he's in the beginning of the movie, he's cooking for himself, and at the end of the movie, he's cooking for others again. And so
yeah, I did. Yeah,
he's
that's good. I didn't catch
he's
that. Yeah,
he's
no,
he's
that's excellent.
his vocation is not just for himself. Yeah, you're thrust back into to other people, to deal with them and all of their messiness and all of your messiness, and they have to deal with you shouting as you steal a bike and ride through Portland. Just
That's
amazing
such a
film.
great
It's
scene.
such a great film. Cool. Well, this probably we could talk for more and more hours about it. So that's probably a good place, a natural place
Mhm.
to tie it up.
Yep.
Please, everyone, do watch it. It's such a good movie. This episode is mostly, I mean, to spurg out about it with Bulge, who's very kind to do so, but also to get people to like know about this film. It's so good. It's so amazing. Bulge, anything you want to let people know, you want to shout out, things you want to shout out, stuff you're doing that you want to shout out, any shout outs?
None of. Oh, yes, I do. I am. You're probably not here from the Thomas Reviews podcast, but
Probably
if
not.
you
You
are,
should check it out.
uh, if you aren't, you should check it out. If you are, however, me and a friend of mine, Einkath, are doing a chapter by chapter review, summary, and commentary on Jacques Maritain Degrees of Knowledge. It is
Hmm,
a book on epistemology,
okay.
specifically on neo-Thomistic theory of knowledge and on several critiques. It's also one of the most beautiful works of prose I've ever read. It's incredible. There are times where I'm reading it and I've cried like twice reading this book. It's
Oh,
that beautiful. Um and it will catch you on the wares because sometimes it's really boring epistemology written extremely well. And then it'll catch you unawares of like some very insightful mystical knowledge of someone who's very, very faithful. Only someone who's that faithful can write that from experience. And tomorrow we're going to record another chapter. It'll probably be out like Monday, something like that. So that's what I want to shout out. The other thing
cool.
is watch this fucking movie. I
Yeah.
don't I don't
Bill.
care if you're like, I don't want to watch this movie because you guys just like rope someone else in to watch this movie and just look at their reactions. Just watch this movie, spread this, even if you don't watch it, convince someone else to watch it. Pretend you've just spread this movie for the
It's
love
really
of God,
good.
whatever you can. This movie deserves more recognition. We need more people to watch this movie. It's so good. Please watch this movie.
Amen. Yeah, if I can do one quick shout out, I was on recently. I don't know when it's going to drop. It will probably be on the TLE subscription thread at some point. I was on Scarlet Thread Society again with Paz. We talked about getting into spooky season. We talked about Scandinavian grimoires. So
Oh, good. Yes.
a decidedly unholy topic. Nothing,
Uh-huh.
yeah, but it was fun and it was great fun. So check out Scarlet Thread Society in general, and then I think I'll be like this September or October episode will be me. So that's something I've been doing, and also coming up again, try to do some more spooky stuff on this channel. I do like spooky season. Fred, it's in the can. I'll probably be dropping it at some point here. Fred and I recorded an analysis, a discussion on Charles Dickens' The Signal Man, which is
Ooh,
I
I
think
haven't read
probably
that
his
one.
best story. It's really quite good. So we did some more classic British ghost story stuff. Pause will hopefully next week or so sometime be coming on my show we're going to do a breakdown of Ghostbusters, the original Ghostbusters
Uh-huh,
film,
yeah.
within the context of spiritualism, since it is a spiritualist narrative at its heart. And yeah, and hopefully, Bulge, we can get you back on sometime before the end of the month, and we can do
We
maybe
do
some.
have a movie planned.
We're we're
And
kind of
there
talking
is
around
a
some ideas.
second
Yeah.
movie planned with a third participant.
Yes. Yeah. We have yeah. So there's stuff in the works. So yeah. Well, it's great to have you as a reoccurring guest on the show. You're a
Very
very
happy to
welcome
be here.
addition. It works. It's an ecumenical dialogue. It's nerd friendships being built, and
It's
it's all
intercontinental dialogue
it
too.
is. It is. I'd rather have
I might be one of your few intercontinental guests, I would guess, who's not
I
a
had, yeah,
resident of the US.
you and Fred, who's in England. So we have
Okay.
yeah. I'd rather have intercontinental guests than intercontinental ballistic missiles because right now
Mhm.
things are really tight. So on that, yeah, have on that uplifting news, that and in 200 and sometime within the next 50 years, we're going to have a climatic earthquake here in the Northwest, and we'll be swallowed by water. So I guess what I'm going to try to say in the spirit maybe of Pig is death is guaranteed, but and life is not guaranteed. So you should do the thing. Do the thing you're supposed to do. And even if it's not maybe fun in the moment, do the thing you're called to do. I think that that's kind of what the movie's about is like, well, you were always going to die. So like, what are you going to do along the way? That's what matters.
What
And
is worth doing?
that's worth doing and that ideally helps someone else. And you know what? Making food for people is actually I think it's a noble thing to do. I think serving anyone else in some real way that helps them, even just temporarily, even just makes an hour of their day somewhat less crappy. That is a
It makes
self
one couple's day good.
yeah. It's a selfless thing. And I think that, and if it is you'll know it's your vocation. I think speaking at least personally, you'll know it's your vocation if you did it and maybe you didn't want to do it, but you forced yourself to do it, and then you see the effect, or maybe you don't even see the effect of doing it, but having done that action, that thing you were supposed to do, fills you with a sense of like some peace. You're like, well, I did that today. At least that was something, right? Maybe I didn't see the immediate effects. Maybe I did see the immediate effects, but I did the thing that I was supposed to do. And
You did what you ought. Yeah, it's that feeling of like,
yeah,
oh, okay, I did the thing I'm supposed to do. It's not like I did a thing because that can be
right,
whatever. It's I
right.
did the thing, and there's implicitly in the feeling of achievement or in the feeling of satisfaction of a work done. It's like, and I ought to have done this thing.
Right.
It's not just like, oh, I'm doing this thing which sucks, and I'm really serving no one and whatever. It's like, no, you're doing the thing which you ought to do in at
Yes.
least some way.
Yeah.
And I
Yeah.
will also, to ending note, you can also remember one of the key messages of this movie is it's better to die in Portland than to live in Seattle. It's important to remember that.
And on that
It's
ending
key.
note, that's a great way to end it. Oh yes, I'm self-deprecating enough. I will accept that and go yes, even though it's insulting my hometown. All right, thank you, Bulge. Thank you, everyone who's listening. And like, comment, subscribe, all the things. And yeah, we'll see you all soon. Most likely, very soon. All right, peace, everyone. See ya.